I pulled into my mother's driveway after my 12-hour shift at the hospital rain, hammering my windshield so hard I could barely see. That's when I heard it. My son Marcus screaming. Not inside the house, outside. I threw open my car door and there he was, my 18-month-old baby standing in the downpour in nothing but his diaper, shivering and sobbing. My mother Dorothy stood in the doorway watching him, arms crossed. "I don't raise bastards," she spat. My sister Brittany appeared behind her laughing. "Serves you right, filthy little whore." I scooped up Marcus and ran. The headlights came out of nowhere. Pain exploded through my body as I flew through the air. As I lay bleeding on the asphalt, I saw the driver, David Hartley, the man who destroyed my life 2 years ago. The rain mixed with blood as I struggled to focus on the figure stepping out of the black Mercedes. David Hartley's face drained of color when he recognized me. For a moment, he stood frozen, then took a step back toward his car. "Dad, what are you doing?" A teenage girl's voice cut through the storm. "We have to call 911. "Madison, get back in the car," David commanded, but his daughter was already kneeling beside me, pulling off her jacket to cover Marcus, who was miraculously unharmed, but screaming in terror. "She's hurt bad." Madison said, her hands shaking as she pressed her scarf against the gash on my forehead. "Dad, call an ambulance now." David hesitated for 3 heartbeats that felt like hours before finally pulling out his phone. I tried to speak to beg them not to take Marcus, but darkness swallowed me whole. I woke to the sterile smell of disinfectant and the steady beep of monitors. My ribs screamed when I tried to sit up, and a nurse gently pushed me back down. "Easy there, honey," she said. "You've got a concussion and 3 broken ribs. You're lucky it wasn't worse." "Marcus," I croaked. "Where's my son?" The nurse's expression shifted and my heart plummeted. "He's fine, sweetheart, not a scratch on him. But there's someone here who needs to speak with you." A woman in a gray suit entered carrying a folder thick with papers. "Ms. Jody Parker, I'm Linda Stevenson from Child Protective Services. I need to ask you some questions about the incident." What incident? I was protecting my son from the storm after my mother locked him outside. Linda's expression remained neutral. "Your mother called us immediately after you left. She claims you regularly endanger your child and that tonight you ran into traffic with him." "That's insane. She's the one who put him outside in the rain." "I understand this is distressing," Linda continued flipping through her folder. "But this isn't the first report we've received about you. There have been anonymous calls over the past 6 months citing concerns about your parenting." My blood ran cold. 6 months of calls. Who's been calling? The reports are anonymous, but they've documented alleged incidents of neglect, erratic behavior, and possible substance abuse. I've never used drugs in my life. I'm a pediatric nurse, for God's sake. I'm tested regularly. Linda made a note. We'll need to verify that. In the meantime, Marcus has been placed in temporary custody with your mother pending our investigation. No. I tried to sit up again, ignoring the fire in my ribs. You can't give him to her. She's the one who locked him outside. Your mother has been cooperating fully with our investigation. She has a stable home, no criminal record, and your sister is there to help with childcare. The room spun. This couldn't be happening. My mother and Brittany had been cold toward me since Marcus was born, constantly making snide comments about single mothers and bastard children, but I never imagined they'd go this far. Please, I begged, at least let him stay with my friend Sarah, anyone but them. I'm sorry, but family placement takes priority. You'll have a hearing in 72 hours. I suggest you get a lawyer. After Linda left, I lay there trying to process what was happening. How had my life spiraled so completely out of control? Just this morning, Marcus and I had been eating breakfast together, him babbling happily in his high chair, while I got ready for work. Now he was with the very people who'd thrown him into the rain. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. A young nurse peeked in, glancing nervously down the hallway before entering. I shouldn't be doing this, she whispered, but that girl who was at the accident scene, Madison Hartley, she's been in the waiting room for 3 hours asking about you. David Hartley's daughter. The nurse nodded. She seems really upset. Keeps saying she needs to talk to you, that it's important. Should I send her away? I thought about David's hesitation at the accident scene, how he'd looked ready to flee. Why would his daughter care what happened to me? Send her in, I decided. Maybe she'd seen something that could help my case. Madison entered tentatively, her designer clothes still damp from the rain. Up close, I could see she was about 16 with her father's dark hair but kinder eyes. "I'm so sorry," she blurted out. "About the accident, about everything. Your father hit me with his car. Sorry doesn't really cover it." She flinched. "I know, that's not why I'm here." She pulled out her phone, hands trembling. "I need to show you something. I've been wanting to talk to you for months, but I didn't know how." "What are you talking about?" Madison took a deep breath. "I know who you are, Jody. I know about you and my father. And I know that Marcus. I know he's my brother." The monitors started beeping faster as my heart rate spiked. "How could you possibly know that?" "I found things in my father's safe 6 months ago. Love letters, DNA test results." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I know he got you pregnant and then destroyed your life when you wouldn't get rid of the baby." I stared at her, this girl who should hate me, who should see me as the other woman who'd threatened her family. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because what they're doing to you is wrong, and it's gotten worse." She scrolled through her phone and showed me a screenshot. "I made a fake Facebook account to follow your mom's page. Look what I found." The messages were between my mother and someone named Caroline Hartley, David's wife. "I can handle the situation permanently," my mother had written, "but it won't be cheap." 50,000 once the child is placed elsewhere, Caroline had replied, not a penny before. "They're paying her," I breathed. "My own mother is selling my son." Madison nodded grimly. "There's more. They've been planning this for months. The CPS calls making you look unstable, everything. But that's not even the worst part." She showed me another message thread, this one between David and someone saved as Judge W. "The hearing will go as discussed. Ms. Parker won't keep custody. You have my word." "They've rigged the system," Madison said. "The judge, CPS, maybe even your lawyer when you get one. My father has connections everywhere." I felt like I was drowning on dry land. "Why are you helping me? This is your family." "Because I've watched my father destroy people my whole life and I'm sick of it. Because Marcus is my brother and he deserves better. Because you're not the first woman my father has done this to, and unless someone stops him, you won't be the last." She pulled out an envelope and placed it on my bedside table. "There's $5,000 in there. It's all I could get from my trust fund without raising suspicion. Get a lawyer my father doesn't own." "Madison, I can't take your money." "Yes, you can. You're going to need it." She headed for the door, then paused. "I'll keep gathering evidence. We're going to expose all of them. But Jody, be careful. My parents are planning something bigger. They want Marcus for themselves." Why would they want my son? Because my mother can't have any more children, and apparently a grandson is better than no son at all, even if they have to steal him. After she left, I lay in the darkness trying to process everything. My mother was selling my son to the people who'd ruined my life. The system meant to protect children was being used as a weapon against me. And somewhere in this city, my baby was crying for his mama while surrounded by people who saw him as nothing more than a paycheck. But I wasn't alone. For reasons I didn't fully understand, David Hartley's own daughter had just become my ally. And if they thought I'd roll over and let them take my child, they had no idea who they were dealing with. I'd been knocked down before. David had made sure of that when he'd had me fired from my first nursing job after I'd refused to terminate my pregnancy. But I'd gotten back up, found another position, and built a life for Marcus and me. This time would be no different. They could break my ribs, they could stack the system against me, but they couldn't break my spirit. And they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd left a witness. Madison Hartley had seen everything, and she was angry enough to help me burn their whole conspiracy to the ground. I reached for the envelope she'd left, running my fingers over the cash inside. Tomorrow I'd find a lawyer. Tomorrow I'd start fighting back. Tonight I'd lie here and plan exactly how I was going to get my son back and make every single one of them pay for what they'd done. The storm outside was passing, but the real tempest was just beginning. And this time, I wouldn't be the one left standing in the rain. The next morning brought pain medication and an unexpected visitor. Madison Hartley slipped into my room just as the breakfast tray arrived, looking over her shoulder like a spy in enemy territory. "I told the nurses I'm your cousin," she said quickly. "We need to talk. I couldn't sleep all night thinking about what else you need to know." I pushed aside the rubbery, scrambled eggs, my appetite non-existent. "Madison, I appreciate what you did yesterday, but you should be careful. If your father finds out..." "He won't." She pulled a chair close to my bed. "He thinks I'm at Sophie's house studying for finals. But listen, there's something I didn't tell you yesterday. Something about Marcus." My chest tightened. "What about him?" She took a shaky breath. 6 months ago, I was looking for my passport in my dad's safe. That's when I found everything. Not just the letters you wrote him during your relationship, not just the DNA test he had done when you were pregnant. I found records of him stalking you. Stalking me? Photos of you at work, at the grocery store, at the park with Marcus. Detailed notes about your routines. He's been watching you both for over a year. The room suddenly felt too small. But why, he made it clear. He wanted nothing to do with us. Madison pulled out her phone again, showing me photos she'd taken of documents. Because of this, my grandmother, his mother, died 8 months ago. She left a trust fund specifically for any grandchildren, legitimate or not. $5 million per child. I nearly choked. $5 million. He can't access it himself, but whoever has custody of Marcus controls that money until he turns 21. That's why my mother wants him too. It's always about money with them. The pieces clicked into place, the sudden interest in my son, the elaborate scheme to take him. They didn't want Marcus. They wanted his inheritance. "But how did your grandmother even know about Marcus?" Madison smiled sadly. "Grandma Elena wasn't like the rest of my family. She had investigators who kept tabs on my father. She knew about all his affairs, all his secret children. She told me once that she was leaving money to all her grandchildren because someone needed to do right by them. There are others. At least 3 that I've found evidence of. You're the only one who kept the baby, though. The others..." My father made sure they didn't have that choice. I thought of David's charming smile, his promises when we'd worked together at my first hospital. He'd been so persistent, so romantic. I'd been 26 and naive, believing his lies about leaving his wife. The truth had come out when I'd announced my pregnancy, thinking he'd be happy. Instead, he'd turned cold, cruel, threatening to destroy my career if I didn't take care of it. "Madison, do your parents know about the inheritance?" My mother found out 2 months ago. That's when everything accelerated. The CPS calls started, the surveillance increased. They even hired someone to follow you. She showed me another photo. This man. I've seen him talking to my father multiple times. I studied the image of a middle-aged man with dead eyes. I've seen him. Outside Marcus's daycare. I thought I was being paranoid. You weren't. And Jody, there's something else. Something about your mother. What could be worse than her selling her grandchild? Madison bit her lip. I hacked into my mother's emails. Your mom didn't just agree to the $50,000. She's been feeding them information for months. Your work schedule when you'd be alone with Marcus, even what medications you take for your migraines. The medications. I suddenly remembered the strange drowsiness I'd been experiencing lately, the way my prescription bottles seemed to empty faster than they should. "They've been drugging you, haven't they?" Madison asked quietly. I think someone's been adding something to my pills. I've been so tired lately, sometimes I can barely focus. They probably documented every moment of it as evidence of me being an unfit mother. "We need to get you tested. Document everything before it leaves your system." A knock on the door made us both jump. Dr. Patricia Winters entered, and Madison quickly shoved her phone into her pocket. "Ms. Parker, I'm Dr. Winters. I'll be overseeing your care." She barely glanced at Madison. How are you feeling this morning?" "Like I was hit by a car," I said flatly. "Yes, well, that's to be expected. I've reviewed your charts and there are some concerns I'd like to discuss." "Concerns?" "Your blood work showed traces of benzodiazepines. Are you taking any anxiety medications?" I knew it. "No, I'm not. Someone's been drugging me without my knowledge." Dr. Winters raised an eyebrow. "That's quite an accusation. Are you sure you haven't been self-medicating? The stress of single parenthood can be overwhelming." "I'm a nurse. I know what benzodiazepines are, and I haven't taken any." "I see." She made a note on her clipboard. "Well, I'll have to report this to CPS. They'll want to know about any substances in your system." "Of course you will," I muttered. After she left, Madison grabbed my hand. "That's Judge Patricia Winters' sister. I recognize her from family photos in my dad's office." The conspiracy kept growing wider. "How many people are in on this?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." Madison stood to leave, then turned back. "Jody, I need you to know something. What my father did to you. It's not your fault. You were young and he's been manipulating women his whole life. You're the only one brave enough to keep your baby and stand up to him." "I don't feel brave. I feel terrified." "Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about fighting anyway." She squeezed my shoulder. "Get some rest. I'll be back tonight with more information. And Jody, we're going to win this. I promise." After she left, I called my friend Sarah using the room phone. She answered on the first ring. "Jody, I've been worried sick. Your mom won't let me see Marcus, and she's telling everyone you had some kind of breakdown. Sarah, I need your help. Can you come to the hospital and bring that friend of yours from the lab?" "Tom, why?" "I think I've been poisoned and I need proof before it's too late." 2 hours later, Sarah arrived with Tom, a nervous-looking man who kept adjusting his glasses. "This is highly irregular," he muttered as he drew my blood. "But Sarah says you're in trouble." "Someone's been drugging me with benzodiazepines. I need you to run a comprehensive test, including a hair sample, to show how long it's been going on." Sarah held my hand as Tom worked. "Who would do this to you?" "My family, my ex, people I trusted." I gave her a condensed version of what Madison had revealed. Sarah's face went pale. "Dorothy and Brittany, but they're your family." "Not anymore." I looked at Tom. "How soon can you get me those results?" "If I rush it, tomorrow afternoon. But Jody, if someone's really been drugging you long-term, you need to document everything. Keep a journal of symptoms, take photos of your medications, everything." "I will. And Sarah, I need another favor. Can you go to my apartment and check my medicine cabinet? Don't touch anything, just take photos. I have a hidden camera in my bedroom that uploads to the cloud. The password is Marcus's birthday. Download everything from the last 6 months." "You have a hidden camera? Why?" "I started feeling paranoid months ago. Things were moved and my apartment stuff was missing. I thought I was going crazy." "You weren't crazy," Sarah said firmly. "You were being gaslit. I'll go right now." After they left, I spent the afternoon making calls. The first 3 lawyers I contacted suddenly became unavailable when I mentioned the Hartley name. The 4th one laughed and hung up. The 5th one at least had the decency to sound apologetic. "I'm sorry, Ms. Parker, but I can't go against David Hartley. No one in this city can. He owns half the judges and has dirt on the other half. Your best bet is to take whatever deal he offers and move on." "He's trying to steal my son." "Then I'm truly sorry for your loss." By evening, I was exhausted and defeated. Madison returned as promised, this time bringing a laptop. "I've been digging all day," she said, pulling up file after file. "My father is worse than I thought. Look at this." The screen showed bank transfers, dozens of them, to various city officials, judges, CPS workers, police officers, even hospital administrators. "He owns this whole city," I breathed. "Not everyone. There are still good people. We just have to find them." She pulled up another file. "I found the other women he's hurt. Amanda Chen, she was a court reporter, got pregnant 4 years ago, then mysteriously disappeared. Rebecca Martinez, a paralegal at his firm. She lost her baby in a car accident after refusing to have an abortion. Jennifer Walsh, she actually had her baby, but it died of SIDS 2 months later. He killed them. He killed babies. I can't prove it, but the patterns are clear. You're the only one who got away with your child alive. That's why he's being so careful this time, using the system instead of violence. I stared at the young woman in front of me, this teenager who was risking everything to help a stranger. Madison, why are you really doing this? This is your father, your family. She was quiet for a long moment. When I was 12, I had a best friend named Lucy. Her mom was our housekeeper. One day, Lucy told me her mom was pregnant and she was excited to be a big sister. A week later, they were both gone. My father said they moved back to Mexico, but Lucy was born in Dallas. She'd never even been to Mexico. You think? I found Lucy on Facebook last year. Her mom died in a deportation center while 8 months pregnant. My father had her arrested on fake charges because he'd gotten her pregnant, and she refused to terminate. Lucy's in foster care now. Oh, Madison. I couldn't save Lucy's family, but maybe I can save yours. She wiped her eyes and returned to the laptop. Now I found something interesting about your mother. There's no birth record for a Jody Parker born to Dorothy Parker in any hospital in the state. What, that's impossible? That's what I thought. But there is a record of a baby Jane Doe found at a fire station the same month and year you were supposedly born. She was adopted by a Dorothy Mills who later married and became Dorothy Parker. The room spun. Are you saying I'm adopted? I'm saying the records are weird, really weird, and there's more. Your sister Brittany has been depositing large amounts of cash weekly for the past 6 months, way more than a grocery store clerk should have. Where's the money coming from? I'm still tracking that, but I have a theory. Remember that man who's been following you? I think someone's paying your family to spy on you long before my parents got involved. The question is who? A nurse came in to check my vitals, ending our conversation. Madison promised to return tomorrow with more information and left me alone with my thoughts. I stared at the ceiling, trying to process everything. My son was a pawn in a $5 million game. My ex had possibly murdered other women and their babies. My mother might not even be my real mother. My sister was being paid by someone to watch me. And somewhere in this city, my 18-month-old son was probably crying for his mama while surrounded by people who saw him as nothing but a lottery ticket. But I had something they didn't expect. I had an ally on the inside, a brilliant teenager with a conscience and access to their secrets. I had friends like Sarah who believed in me, and I had a mother's rage that burned hotter than any conspiracy they could build. Tomorrow the custody hearing would happen with or without a lawyer. They thought they'd already won, that their rigged system would hand them my baby wrapped in a bow. They had no idea what was coming. Madison was right about courage. It wasn't about not being scared. It was about fighting anyway. And I was ready to fight with everything I had. Sarah arrived at the hospital early the next morning, her face grave and her hands shaking as she clutched a manila folder. Jody, you need to see this. I went to your apartment like you asked, and God, I don't even know how to tell you this. Just show me, I said, bracing myself for whatever fresh hell awaited. She spread photos across my hospital bed, my medicine cabinet, my bedroom, my kitchen. At first glance, everything looked normal. Then she pointed to small details I'd missed. See this? She indicated a tiny hole in the bathroom wall. That's a camera. There's another one in your bedroom air vent and one in the kitchen smoke detector. Someone's been watching me in my own home. For months, based on the dust patterns. But that's not the worst part. She pulled up videos on her phone from my hidden camera. I found this from 2 weeks ago. The timestamp showed 3 a.m. My apartment was dark, but the night vision clearly showed 2 figures entering with a key. My sister Brittany and my ex-boyfriend Ryan. That's impossible. Ryan and I broke up over a year ago when I got pregnant. He wanted nothing to do with Marcus. Keep watching, Sarah said grimly. On screen, Brittany went straight to my bedroom while Ryan headed for the kitchen. He pulled something from his pocket and began opening my medication bottles, adding powder to each one before carefully shaking them. The benzodiazepines, I breathed. It gets worse. Sarah fast-forwarded to another date. This time, Brittany was in my bedroom going through my dresser. She pulled out my journal and photographed each page with her phone. I write about my struggles in there, my fears about being a good mother, my exhaustion from working double shifts. I felt sick. They've been using my own words against me. There's more footage. They've been there at least twice a week for 6 months, always when you're at work. Sarah squeezed my hand. But here's the thing that doesn't make sense. Look at this video from 4 months ago. She showed me another clip. This time Ryan was installing something behind my refrigerator while Brittany kept watch. What is that? Tom thinks it's a listening device, professional grade, the kind that costs thousands of dollars. Sarah met my eyes. Where would Ryan get that kind of money or equipment? He works at a car wash. Before I could respond, Tom burst through the door out of breath and carrying a laptop. I ran the tests 3 times to be sure. He panted. Jody, you've been ingesting a cocktail of drugs, not just benzodiazepines. There's also traces of Ambien, Xanax, and something else I can't identify. The levels, they've been carefully calibrated to make you seem impaired without causing permanent damage. How long? Based on the hair sample, at least 5 months. Someone with medical knowledge designed this. This isn't amateur hour. The door opened again and Madison slipped in, her face flushed with excitement. I found it, she announced. The money trail. Brittany's been getting payments from an account linked to... She paused dramatically. MedTech Pharmaceuticals. That's where Ryan's brother works, Sarah said slowly. He's some kind of lab supervisor. The pieces were falling into place. But why would a pharmaceutical company care about drugging me? Madison pulled up files on her laptop. Because you're not the only one. I've found 12 other single mothers in the city with similar stories. Custody battles, they mysteriously lost accusations of drug use children placed with wealthy families, and every single one of them had connections to someone at MedTech. They're using us as guinea pigs. Worse. I think they're testing behavioral modification drugs, making mothers seem unfit so their children can be placed in better homes. Homes that pay big money for healthy babies and toddlers. I thought I might vomit. It's human trafficking, medical human trafficking. And my father's been facilitating it through the legal system, Madison confirmed. He gets paid to push through the adoptions, no questions asked. Tom cleared his throat. There's something else. That unidentified drug in your system, I sent the chemical signature to a friend at the FDA. It's not approved for human testing. If we can prove they've been giving it to you without consent, it's attempted murder, Madison finished, or at least assault with a deadly weapon. Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and paled. Oh no, Jody, the custody hearing's been moved up. It's in 2 hours. What, they can't do that? Apparently they can when the mother is hospitalized for mental health evaluation. I'm here for injuries from being hit by a car. Madison was already typing furiously. They've changed your medical records. Dr. Winters marked you as a psychiatric hold risk based on paranoid delusions about being drugged. I tried to get out of bed, ignoring the screaming pain in my ribs. I have to get to that courthouse. You can barely walk, Sarah protested. Then get me a wheelchair. I'm not letting them take my son without a fight. Tom stepped forward. I'll drive, and I'm calling my friend at the FDA right now. Maybe if we can get federal involvement. There's no time, Madison said. But I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. She looked at me. Do you trust me? You're the only Hartley I trust. Then we need to make a scene. A big one. Public enough that they can't cover it up. She turned to Sarah. How many nurses do you know who would be willing to help a colleague against David Hartley? Maybe a dozen who've seen what he's done to other women. Get them to the courthouse. Tell them to bring signs, make noise, whatever it takes. Madison pulled out a business card. Call this number. It's a reporter who's been investigating my father for years. Tell her everything. While they made calls, I got dressed with Sarah's help. Every movement was agony, but rage is excellent fuel. These people had invaded my home, poisoned my body, and stolen my child. They thought they'd broken me. They were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. Tom pulled his van to the hospital's service entrance, and we loaded in like fugitives. Madison had called 3 media outlets, 2 bloggers, and somehow gotten the story trending on social media before we even left the parking lot. "How are you so good at this?" I asked her. "You learn a lot growing up in a viper's nest. Plus, I've been preparing for this day since I found out about Lucy." 20 minutes later, we pulled up to the courthouse to find a small but vocal crowd already forming. Nurses in scrubs holding signs, "Stop medical kidnapping" and "Justice for Jody." Someone had even made a banner, "Hartley trafficking ring exposed." "This is insane," Tom muttered. "This is justice," Madison corrected, "or at least the start of it." Sarah helped me into a wheelchair and we rolled toward the courthouse entrance. That's when I saw them. Brittany and Ryan standing with my mother and the Hartleys on the courthouse steps. Brittany was actually smiling. "Well, look who made it," she called out. "Shouldn't you be in the psych ward, sis? Shouldn't you be in jail for breaking and entering?" I shot back. Her smile faltered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really, because I have video of you and Ryan drugging my medications, every single visit to my apartment, every single crime." Ryan stepped forward, his face flushed. "You're crazy. You've always been crazy. That's why I left you. You left because David Hartley paid you to, just like he's paying you now." I looked him dead in the eye. "Tell me, Ryan, how much is my son worth to you? What's the going rate for destroying a family?" "You destroyed yourself," Brittany spat. "Single mother working all hours, barely keeping it together. Marcus deserves better." "He deserves his mother. A mother who's so drugged she can't even stand." Dorothy finally spoke, her voice dripping with false concern. "Look at yourself, Jody. You can't even walk. How can you care for a baby?" "I can't walk because your friend David hit me with his car." David Hartley stepped out from behind his wife, his lawyer's smile firmly in place. "Ms. Parker, you're clearly distressed. Perhaps we should postpone this hearing until you're feeling more stable." "Nice try. I know about the judge. I know about the bribery. I know about Amanda Chen and Rebecca Martinez and Jennifer Walsh." His smile slipped for just a second. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Then you won't mind if the FBI investigates." That's when chaos erupted. Madison had been live streaming the entire confrontation on her phone, and thousands of people were watching. Comments flooded in faster than the screen could display them. Other mothers started sharing their own stories. The hashtag Hartley trafficking was trending. Caroline Hartley grabbed for Madison's phone. "You little brat, give me that." "Don't touch me." Madison backed away, still streaming. "Tell them, Mom. Tell them about the $50,000 you promised Dorothy. Tell them about the others." "Madison Elise Hartley, you stop this right now?" "No, I'm done being quiet. I'm done watching you destroy lives." She turned to the camera. "My name is Madison Hartley, and my father is a monster who traffics children through the family court system. I have proof, and I'm sending it to every news outlet in the country." David lunged for his daughter, but Tom and several nurses formed a protective barrier. The crowd was growing, and I could hear sirens in the distance. "You want to know the best part?" I called out, my voice carrying across the chaos. "The drugs you've been giving me, the FDA knows. The FBI knows. That pharmaceutical company you're all in bed with, they're about to lose everything." Brittany's face went white. "Ryan, what is she talking about?" "Shut up," he hissed. "Oh, he didn't tell you." I laughed, though it hurt my ribs. "The drugs they've been testing aren't just benzodiazepines. They're experimental behavioral modifiers, illegal ones. Every single dose you helped give me is a federal crime." "You said they were just sleeping pills." Brittany turned on Ryan. "You said we were just making her tired." I said, "Shut up." "And Dorothy, sweet mother of mine." I continued, "Did you know you're not even my real mother? Madison found the adoption records. Or should I say the fake adoption records? Dorothy's mask finally cracked. You don't know what you're talking about. Baby Jane Doe found at a fire station 30 years ago, ring any bells? Or how about the real Jodie Parker who died in a house fire when she was 2 months old? Whose identity did you steal? To give me a name. The sirens were getting closer. Police cars pulled up, but instead of dispersing the crowd, officers began surrounding the Hartleys. David Hartley. A detective stepped forward. We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of conspiracy, fraud, and human trafficking. This is ridiculous. I want my lawyer. You might want several, the detective said dryly. Caroline Hartley. You're under arrest as well, and we'll be needing to speak with Dorothy Parker, Brittany Parker, and Ryan Fitzgerald. As they were being handcuffed, Madison ran to me, tears streaming down her face. We did it, she sobbed. It's over. Not yet, I said, gripping her hand. Not until I have my son back. A CPS supervisor I didn't recognize approached us. Ms. Parker, I'm Janet Williams. I'll be taking over your case. Given the circumstances, we're immediately returning Marcus to your custody. He's safe at our office. We can go get him right now. I broke down crying, the adrenaline finally wearing off. Sarah hugged me carefully, mindful of my ribs, while Madison continued streaming, making sure everything was documented. As we headed to get Marcus, I looked back at my family being loaded into police cars. Dorothy caught my eye, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in her face. You'll regret this, she mouthed. No, I said, though she couldn't hear me. The only thing I regret is not seeing who you really were sooner. The crowd parted for our van, people cheering and crying. Some held up their phones, sharing their own stories of stolen children and corrupt courts. Madison had lit a spark, and it was spreading like wildfire. Thank you, I told her as Tom drove us away. You saved us. You saved yourself, she corrected. I just helped level the playing field. What's going to happen to you now? Your parents are going to prison. I'll stay with my aunt in Boston. She's nothing like them. She squeezed my hand. But first, let's go get your son. He's waited long enough. 20 minutes later, I was holding Marcus again, breathing in his sweet baby scent, while he clung to me, like he'd never let go. He was okay. We were okay. The nightmare was ending. But as I would soon learn, sometimes nightmares have second acts, and the real mastermind behind everything was still out there, waiting for their chance to strike. For now, though, I had my son. I had friends who'd fought for us. I had truth on our side. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for the following Monday. I'd been released from the hospital and was staying with Sarah, too paranoid to return to my compromised apartment. Madison had helped us sweep it for bugs, finding 12 recording devices and 3 cameras we'd missed initially. The violation made my skin crawl, but at least now I knew the extent of their surveillance. Marcus hadn't left my sight since our reunion. He was clingier than usual, waking up screaming from nightmares and refusing to let anyone but me hold him. The pediatrician said it was normal trauma response, but watching my baby suffer because of what they'd done made my rage burn even hotter. Your lawyer's here, Sarah announced, leading a well-dressed woman into the living room. I'd finally found representation through Madison's aunt in Boston, who'd connected me with Angela Morrison, a family law attorney, known for taking on impossible cases. She was sharp, determined, and most importantly, had no connections to David Hartley. I've reviewed everything, Angela said, spreading files across the coffee table. The drugging, the surveillance, the bribery. It's extensive, but there's a problem. My heart sank. What kind of problem? The emergency hearing judge is Patricia Winters. The same Patricia Winters whose sister treated me at the hospital. The very same. I filed a motion for recusal based on conflict of interest, but Angela hesitated. She denied it, said there's no legal basis since her sister isn't a party to the case. But she literally falsified my medical records, which we can't prove yet. Dr. Patricia Winters covered her tracks well. Your records show concerning behavior and potential psychiatric issues, but nothing actionable. It's all carefully worded opinions. I shifted Marcus on my lap, trying to stay calm for his sake. So, we're walking into a rigged courtroom. Yes, but we're not going down without a fight. I've subpoenaed the video evidence from your apartment, the lab results showing the drugging, and Madison's recordings. Even a corrupt judge will have a hard time ignoring all of that. You don't know David Hartley, I muttered. No, but I know the law. And more importantly, the media attention on this case is intense. Judge Winters can't simply hand him custody without cause anymore. Too many eyes are watching. Monday morning arrived too quickly. I dressed carefully in my best suit, trying to project stability and competence, despite the anxiety clawing at my insides. Sarah had taken the day off to watch Marcus. Bringing him to court felt too risky with the Hartleys still out on bail. The courthouse was packed with reporters and supporters. Madison was there, sitting pointedly on my side of the courtroom despite her parents' glares. She'd been staying with her aunt but had driven down specifically to support me. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Winters, the bailiff announced. Judge Winters was an older woman with cold eyes and an even colder smile. She looked directly at David Hartley and gave an almost imperceptible nod. My stomach churned. We're here for the emergency custody hearing regarding minor child Marcus Parker, she began. I see we have quite the crowd today. Let me be clear, this is a court of law, not a circus. Any disruptions will result in removal. David's lawyer, a slick man named Preston Chambers, stood first. Your Honor, we're requesting immediate transfer of custody to my clients based on the mother's demonstrated instability and inability to provide a safe environment. Objection, Angela said firmly. The only danger to the child came from the petitioners themselves, as evidenced by... I haven't asked for arguments yet, Ms. Morrison, Judge Winters cut her off. Mr. Chambers, continue. I watched in growing horror as my lawyer was systematically silenced. Every time Angela tried to present evidence, Judge Winters found a reason to dismiss it. The videos were inadmissible due to chain of custody issues. The drug tests were inconclusive without proper medical supervision. Madison's testimony was hearsay from a minor with emotional investment. This is insane, I whispered to Angela. Stay calm, she whispered back. She's overplaying her hand. This is all being recorded. Preston Chambers presented his case like a practice performance. Photos of me looking disheveled taken while I was drugged, testimony from Brittany about my erratic behavior, which she'd caused, and medical records from Dr. Patricia Winters completely falsified. Furthermore, Your Honor. Preston continued, we have concerns about Ms. Parker's living situation. She's currently homeless, staying with friends, unable to provide stable housing for a child. Because they made my apartment unsafe. I couldn't help but protest. Ms. Parker, you'll remain silent unless questioned, Judge Winters snapped. One more outburst and I'll have you removed. Angela squeezed my arm in warning, but something felt off. Preston seemed nervous, kept glancing at his phone. David was sweating despite the cool courtroom. Even Judge Winters appeared distracted. Then I saw it. Madison was typing furiously on her phone, a small smile playing at her lips. She caught my eye and mouthed, "Wait for it." Preston was in the middle of explaining why the Hartleys would provide a better home when the courtroom doors burst open. FBI agents flooded in, led by a woman in a sharp black suit. Judge Patricia Winters, you're under arrest for corruption, conspiracy, and violation of judicial ethics, the lead agent announced. The courtroom erupted. Judge Winters shot to her feet. This is outrageous. You can't arrest me in my own courtroom. Actually, we can. The agent, whose badge identified her as Special Agent Jennifer Coleman, smiled grimly. Especially when we have video evidence of you accepting a $100,000 bribe from David Hartley last Tuesday. My jaw dropped. Madison caught my eye again and winked. She'd done more than just gather evidence. She'd set a trap. Your Honor. Angela stood smoothly. Given these circumstances, I move for immediate dismissal of this case and restoration of full custody to my client. You can't dismiss anything, Judge Winters sputtered as agents cuffed her. This hearing isn't over. It is now, Agent Coleman said. We'll be reviewing every case you've presided over for the last 5 years, Judge Winters. I hope you enjoyed your career because it's over." As they led the judge away, Preston Chambers tried to salvage the situation. "Your Honor, we need a continuance." "What you need is a new lawyer," Agent Coleman informed him. "We have evidence of your participation in this conspiracy as well. I suggest you remain available." David Hartley's face had gone from red to white to an interesting shade of green. "This is a setup, that little brat." He pointed at Madison. "Careful, Dad," Madison said coolly. "Threatening a federal witness is another crime to add to your collection." Caroline grabbed her daughter's arm. "How could you do this to us?" Madison jerked away. "How could you do this to innocent children? To Marcus, to all the others? Everything we did was for the family." "No, everything you did was for money, and now you're going to pay for it." Agent Coleman approached me. "Ms. Parker, we've been building this case for months, but Madison's evidence gave us what we needed to move. You should know this goes far deeper than your individual case. We've uncovered a multi-state trafficking ring involving dozens of judges, lawyers, and CPS workers." "Multi-state," Angela breathed. "MedTech Pharmaceuticals has been running this operation in 12 states, using vulnerable single mothers as test subjects for illegal drugs, then facilitating illegal adoptions when they're deemed unfit. The children are sold to wealthy families for hundreds of thousands of dollars." I felt sick. How many children? "We're still counting. Hundreds at least, maybe thousands over the last decade." The courtroom was clearing out, reporters shouting questions, supporters cheering. In the chaos, I noticed David trying to slip out a side door. 2 agents stopped him immediately. "Going somewhere, Mr. Hartley?" Agent Coleman asked. "I want my lawyer," he said stiffly. "The one we just arrested, or would you like to call another? You might need several. The charges include trafficking, conspiracy, fraud, bribery, and that's just the federal level. The state has their own list." As they led David away, he locked eyes with me. The charming mask was completely gone, replaced by pure hatred. "This isn't over," he snarled. "Yes, it is," I replied. "You lose." A clerk appeared, looking flustered. Given the circumstances, all of Judge Winters' cases from today are void. Miss Parker, you retain full custody of your son. The emergency petition is dismissed with prejudice." Angela hugged me as tears streamed down my face. "We did it. You're safe. Marcus is safe." "Thank you," I sobbed. "Thank you so much." Madison approached hesitantly. "Jody, I'm sorry about all of this. I know it doesn't fix what my family did." I pulled her into a fierce hug. "You saved us. You saved all those children. Don't ever apologize for doing the right thing." Agent Coleman handed me her card. "We'll need your full cooperation as this case proceeds. The Hartleys are just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Whatever you need," I promised, "whatever it takes to stop them." As we left the courthouse, the crowd outside cheered. Mothers held signs with photos of their own lost children. Some were crying, others laughing with relief. The story had gone national, and investigations were launching across the country. Sarah was waiting at home with Marcus. The moment I walked in, he reached for me, babbling, "Mama," over and over. I held him close, breathing in his sweet scent, finally believing we were safe. "So what happens now?" Sarah asked. Angela smiled. "Now we sue everyone involved for damages. The Hartleys, MedTech, the city, the state. By the time I'm done, Jody and Marcus will never have to worry about money again." "I don't care about money," I said. "I just want my son." "You have him," Angela assured me, "and no one will ever take him away again." But as I tucked Marcus into his crib that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. David's threat echoed in my mind. People like him didn't just give up. They regrouped, planned, and struck when you least expected it. Madison had warned me that her father had resources hidden everywhere. Connections we hadn't uncovered yet. Allies who might still be free. For tonight, though, we were safe. Marcus was home. The truth was out. Justice was being served. I kissed my son's forehead and whispered, "I'll always protect you, baby. Always. Outside, an unmarked car sat watching the house. Agent Coleman had insisted on protection until everyone involved was behind bars. It should have made me feel safer. Instead, I wondered who else might be watching and what they were planning next. The war wasn't over. We'd won the battle, but people like the Hartleys didn't accept defeat gracefully. They burned everything down on their way to hell. I was ready for them. Let them come. They'd already done their worst, and I was still standing. But I should have known. The worst was yet to come. 2 weeks after the courthouse arrests, I was settling into a new routine. Marcus and I had moved into a secure apartment building recommended by Agent Coleman, with 24-hour security and reinforced locks. I'd returned to work at the hospital, though my colleagues treated me like a celebrity after the media coverage. Life was slowly returning to normal. Then Caroline Hartley showed up at my door. "Please," she said when I tried to slam it in her face. "I need 5 minutes. I have information you need to hear. Your husband tried to steal my child. You offered my mother $50,000 to help. Why would I listen to anything you have to say?" She looked different than the polished woman from the courthouse. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her perfect makeup smeared. Because David is planning something from prison, and because I'm dying. Against my better judgment, I let her in, keeping my phone ready to call security. She sat on my couch like she might break, pulling out a thick envelope. "I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 8 months ago," she began. "Stage 4. The doctors gave me 6 months to a year. I've been using that time to document everything David's done over the past 20 years. Why should I believe you?" She pulled out medical record CT scans showing the masses in her pancreas. "I spent 23 years enabling that monster. I looked the other way while he destroyed lives because it was easier than facing the truth. But when I got my diagnosis, I realized I didn't want to die with all his victims on my conscience. So this is about clearing your conscience before you meet your maker. Partly, but mostly it's about making sure he never hurts another child." She opened the envelope, revealing photographs, documents, bank statements. David has 3 other children from affairs, all boys. Their mothers were paid off or threatened into silence. He's been collecting child support from their adopted families while simultaneously embezzling from trust funds set up in the children's names. I studied the documents, my hands trembling. These dates. Some of these children would be teenagers now. 17, 14, and 11, all placed with wealthy families who have no idea their adopted sons are David's biological children. He's been playing a long game, planning to reclaim them when they turn 18 and inherit their trust funds. That's sick. That's David. But here's what you don't know. The FBI only found part of his network. He has a partner, someone high up in state government, who's been protecting the operation. Someone who's still free. My blood ran cold. Who? I don't know their identity. David always referred to them as the director. But I know they're planning to continue the operation without him. And Jody, they want Marcus. Over my dead body. That might be their plan. Caroline pulled out another document. This is a contract David signed 3 days before his arrest. It transfers all rights to Marcus's trust fund to a shell company called Prometheus Holdings. I've been trying to trace it, but it's buried under layers of offshore accounts. Why are you telling me this? Why help me? Caroline met my eyes, and for the first time, I saw genuine emotion there. Because I have 6 weeks left, maybe less. I've spent my entire adult life as David's accomplice. I want to spend my last days doing something right. Help me expose the director, and I'll give you everything. 20 years of evidence, account numbers, names, everything you need to bury them all. What's the catch? No catch, but I need something from you. She pulled out a small recording device. I need you to visit David in prison wearing this. He'll never suspect you're working with me. Let him threaten you, boast, maybe even reveal the director's identity. He always did love to monologue when he thought he was winning. I stared at the device, then at the dying woman who'd helped orchestrate my nightmare. You really think I'd work with you after everything you've done? I think you're a mother who'll do anything to protect her son. And right now, I'm your best shot at finding out who's still targeting him." She stood to leave, placing the envelope on my coffee table. "My number's in there, along with proof of everything I've said. Take your time. Think about it. But Jody, don't take too long. Neither of us has much time left." After she left, I called Angela immediately. She arrived within an hour along with Agent Coleman. "This is highly irregular," Coleman said, examining the documents. "Caroline Hartley is facing federal charges. She shouldn't be contacting you." "But is she right?" I pressed. "Is there someone still out there?" Coleman exchanged glances with Angela. "We've suspected there was a higher-level player, but we haven't been able to identify them. These documents, they fill in gaps we've been struggling with." "So what do I do?" Angela studied the contract Caroline had left. "This shell company, Prometheus Holdings. I've seen that name before." She pulled out her laptop, typing rapidly. "Here, it's listed as a donor to Judge Winter's last campaign. And look, they also donated to the district attorney, the police commissioner, and oh my God." "What?" "The lieutenant governor, Patricia Morse. She's on the board of directors for MedTech Pharmaceuticals." Coleman grabbed the laptop. "Are you certain?" "It's buried in subsidiary filings, but yes, she's been on their board for 5 years, right when this trafficking operation started expanding." I felt sick. The lieutenant governor. Someone who could become governor if anything happened to the current one. Someone with the power to appoint judges, influence prosecutions, and protect a massive criminal enterprise. "I'll do it," I said suddenly. "I'll wear the wire and visit David." "Absolutely not," Coleman said. "It's too dangerous." "He's in prison. How dangerous can it be?" "He still has allies, guards who could be bought, other inmates who owe him favors. We can't risk it." "Then what do you suggest? We just wait for this director person to make their move." My phone rang before anyone could answer. Madison's name flashed on the screen. "Jody." She sounded panicked. "I just got a call from my mom's oncologist. She's been admitted to the hospital. She's asking for you. She says it's urgent." I looked at Coleman and Angela. "Caroline's in the hospital." "It could be a trap," Coleman warned. "Or she could be dying and trying to give us crucial information," Angela countered. An hour later, I entered Caroline's hospital room with Agent Coleman beside me. The woman in the bed looked nothing like the put-together socialite who'd visited me. She was skeletal, her skin-gray machines beeping around her. "You came," she whispered. "Talk fast," Coleman said. "What's so urgent?" Caroline struggled to sit up. "The director." I remembered something. David had a meeting 3 months ago. I heard him on the phone saying, "Yes, Patricia, the Parker child will be perfect for phase 2. I didn't think anything of it then. "Patricia Morse?" I asked urgently. "I don't know, but phase 2, I found references in his files. It's not just about stealing children anymore. They're planning to use them for medical experiments, long-term behavioral studies, creating a generation of children they can control and manipulate." "Where are these files?" Coleman demanded. "Hidden in David's home office. Behind the Monet reproduction. There's a safe. The combination is Madison's birthday backward." She grabbed my hand with surprising strength. "Promise me you'll protect those children. All of them. Even the ones David placed years ago. They're still in danger." "We'll protect them," I promised. She smiled weakly. "Madison, tell her I'm sorry. For everything. Tell her she's the only good thing to come from my marriage." Caroline's eyes closed and the machine started alarming. Medical staff rushed in, pushing us out of the room. Through the window, I watched them work frantically before finally stepping back defeat in their postures. Caroline Hartley died at 3:47 p.m., taking whatever else she knew to her grave. But she'd given us enough. A name. Patricia. Patricia Morse, Lieutenant Governor, board member of MedTech, and apparently the director of a multi-state child trafficking ring. "We need those files," Coleman said already on her phone. I'm getting a warrant for the Hartley residence. What about Caroline's offer? I asked. Visiting David with a wire, absolutely not. We have a lead now. We don't need to risk you. But I knew better. David was arrogant, narcissistic. He'd never resist the chance to gloat if I visited him. And if he confirmed Patricia Morse was the director, I'm doing it, I said firmly, with or without your approval. Angela touched my shoulder. Jody, think about Marcus. What happens to him if something goes wrong? What happens to him if the director stays free? Caroline said they want him for phase 2. I won't let my son become a lab rat. Coleman studied me for a long moment. If we do this, we do it my way. Full surveillance team. Panic button. The moment anything feels wrong, you get out. Understood? I nodded, though my heart was racing. Tomorrow I'd walk into prison to face the man who'd tried to destroy my life. But this time, I wouldn't be his victim. This time, I'd be the trap. Madison was waiting in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. Is she? I'm sorry, I said gently. She nodded, composing herself. Did she tell you anything useful? She might have saved all those children, Coleman told her. Your mother did the right thing in the end. Too little too late, Madison said bitterly, then softer. But I guess late is better than never. As we left the hospital, I thought about Caroline's transformation. From willing accomplice to desperate whistleblower, cancer had a way of clarifying priorities, of making people face truths they'd spent lifetimes avoiding. She'd been a monster, yes, but in her final weeks she'd chosen to be something else. A mother trying to protect children even if they weren't hers. A woman attempting to atone for decades of enabling evil. I didn't forgive her. I couldn't. But I understood her, and I'd use every piece of information she'd given us to burn the director's operation to the ground. Patricia Morse had no idea what was coming. She thought she was safe, protected by her position and power, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd threatened my child, and there was nothing more dangerous than a mother protecting her young. Tomorrow I'd walk into the lion's den, but this time I'd be the predator, not the prey. The real fight was just beginning. The federal detention center loomed before me like a concrete monster. I sat in Agent Coleman's van wearing enough surveillance equipment to film a movie. The wire was taped to my ribs, still tender from the accident. A micro camera was hidden in my necklace pendant. Even my earrings contained tracking devices. Remember, Coleman said through my earpiece, let him talk. The more arrogant he feels, the more he'll reveal. If he mentions Patricia Morse or the director, try to get specifics without seeming too interested. I know, I said, though my hands were shaking. I've got this. Backup teams are positioned at every exit. The moment you say the word Marcus 3 times in a row, we extract you. Understood. Understood. I walked through security, each checkpoint making my heart race faster. What if they detected the wire? What if David had guards on his payroll who'd alert him, but nothing happened? Within 20 minutes, I was sitting in a visitation room, bulletproof glass between me and the man who'd tried to steal my son. David entered in orange jumpsuit and shackles, but his arrogant smile remained intact. He sat down and picked up the phone, eyes gleaming with malice. Well, well, come to gloat, Jody. I picked up my phone, forcing my voice to stay steady. I came to ask why. Why Marcus? Why us? He laughed a sound that made my skin crawl. You really don't know, do you? You have no idea how special your son is. He's 18 months old. What could possibly make him special to you? It's not about him. It's about what he represents. Phase 2 of a project that's going to change everything. He leaned forward conspiratorially. Did you know that behavioral modification in infants has a 97% success rate? By the time Marcus is 5, he could be molded into anything. A perfect soldier, a brilliant scientist, a compliant citizen who never questions authority. My stomach churned, but I kept my expression neutral. That's insane. That's science. MedTech has developed compounds that can literally rewire a developing brain, create perfect humans, and your son, with his specific genetic markers, is ideal for the program. Genetic markers. Oh, Jody. His smile widened. You still don't know who you really are, do you? Dorothy kept that secret well. What are you talking about? Your biological mother, the one Dorothy stole you from 30 years ago. She wasn't just anyone. She was Dr. Elizabeth Walsh, one of the leading geneticists in the country. You inherited her brilliant mind, and Marcus inherited even more. His DNA is extraordinary. I gripped the phone tighter, Coleman's voice in my ear telling me to keep him talking. You're lying. Am I? Why do you think Dorothy targeted you specifically as a baby? She was paid to steal you to hide you from your real family. The same people who are running Phase 2 now. Who's running it? David's eyes glittered. Wouldn't you like to know? Let's just say they're very highly placed. Higher than you can imagine. They've been planning this for decades long before I got involved. Patricia Morse. I threw out the name like bait. His smile faltered for just a second. You've been busy, but Patricia is just middle management. The real power lies with someone who's been hiding in plain sight, someone who knew your mother, someone who's been watching you your entire life. Give me a name. What's in it for me? What do you want? He leaned back, studying me. I want to see Marcus. One visit. Let me see my son, and I'll tell you everything. He's not your son, I snapped, and I'll never let you near him. Then I guess you'll never know who's coming for him. But here's a free tip. Check your apartment building's board of directors. You might recognize a name. What does that mean? Time's up, a guard announced. David stood, his chains clanking. Oh, one more thing. You might want to ask Dorothy about the fire that killed the real Jody Parker. Funny how a house fire starts right after she adopts a stolen baby, almost like someone was covering their tracks. He hung up the phone and shuffled away, leaving me reeling. Coleman's team extracted me quickly, but my mind was spinning with questions. Back in the van, Coleman was already on her laptop. Your apartment building's board. Holy hell. Dr. Catherine Walsh is listed as a major shareholder. Walsh, like Elizabeth Walsh. Her sister. She's been on the board for 2 years, right when that building opened. Coleman looked up at me. He's right. Someone's been watching you. We need to talk to Dorothy, I said. Now. Dorothy was being held in the county jail awaiting trial. Unlike David, she looked broken. The orange jumpsuit hung on her frame, her usually perfect hair gray at the roots. When she saw me, she started crying. Jody, baby, I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. Save it, I said coldly. I know I'm not your biological daughter. I know you stole me. What I want to know is why and who paid you to do it. She sobbed harder. I can't. They'll kill me. They're already trying to take Marcus. Tell me the truth, or I swear I'll make sure you never see daylight again. Dorothy looked around nervously, then leaned closer to the glass. I was desperate. My baby had just died and my husband was threatening to leave me. Then this woman approached me at the hospital, said she knew about a baby who needed a home, no questions asked. She paid me $50,000 to take you and disappear. What woman? I never knew her real name. She went by Dr. K, tall, blonde, cold as ice. She said your biological mother was dead and your family was dangerous. Said if I kept you hidden and never told anyone, we'd all be safe. Dr. K, I repeated. Catherine Walsh. Dorothy's eyes widened. How do you know that name? Because she owns my apartment building. She's been watching me. Oh, God. Dorothy grabbed the phone with both hands. Jody, you have to run. Take Marcus and run. Catherine Walsh isn't just watching you. She's Elizabeth's sister. She blames you for her death. What? How could I be responsible? I was a baby. Elizabeth died in childbirth. Complications from an experimental fertility treatment she'd been developing. Catherine went insane with grief, blamed the baby for killing her sister. She paid me to take you to hide you, but I think she's been planning something all along. Planning what? To use you the way Elizabeth wanted to use you, as a test subject. Elizabeth was working on genetic enhancement, creating superior humans. She experimented on herself during pregnancy. You weren't just her daughter, Jody. You were her prototype. I felt sick. And Marcus is the second generation, even more enhanced. Catherine must have been waiting for you to have a child to continue her sister's work. The pieces were falling into place. David's trafficking ring was just a cover. The real operation was about genetic experimentation, creating enhanced humans with my son as their prize specimen. Dorothy, the fire that killed the real Jody Parker. Catherine said it, Dorothy whispered. Destroyed all records of the switch. As far as the world knew, Dorothy Parker's daughter survived and some other baby died. Perfect cover. I stood to leave my mind reeling. If you're lying to me... I'm not Jody, please. I know I was horrible to you. I was scared. Catherine said if I ever showed you too much affection, if I ever let you feel secure, you might start questioning things. She made me treat you badly to keep you dependent and isolated. I'm so sorry. I left without another word. In the parking lot, Coleman was coordinating with her team. We need to find Catherine Walsh immediately, she said. If she's the director... She's not... I interrupted. She's something worse. She's the origin point. This whole thing started with her sister's genetic experiments 30 years ago. My phone buzzed. Sarah, watching Marcus, texted frantically, "Strange woman at the door claiming to be building management. Says there's a gas leak and we need to evacuate. Something feels wrong." "It's her," I gasped. "Catherine's making her move." We raced across the city, Coleman calling in every available unit. By the time we arrived, police cars surrounded my building. Sarah stood outside with Marcus looking shaken but unharmed. "I didn't let her in," Sarah said. "Something about her eyes. They were so cold. She kept insisting she needed to check on the baby specifically." "Did you get a good look at her?" Coleman asked. "Tall blonde, maybe 60, expensive clothes. She had this weird smile like she was enjoying some private joke." Coleman showed her a photo on her phone. "This her..." Sarah nodded. "That's her. Who is she?" "My aunt, apparently," I said bitterly, "and the woman who's been pulling the strings from the beginning." We searched the building, but Catherine was gone. In my apartment, we found something chilling, a photo album left on Marcus's crib. Inside were pictures of my biological mother, Elizabeth, working in a lab, pictures of her pregnant, and on the last page, a note. "The experiment continues. You can't run from genetics, Jody. Marcus belongs with those who understand his potential. See you soon, Aunt Catherine." There was also a USB drive. Coleman immediately bagged it for evidence, but I already knew what it would contain. Elizabeth Walsh's research, the blueprint for creating genetically enhanced humans, and probably the plan for what they intended to do with my son. "We need to disappear," I told Coleman. "Witness protection, new identities, whatever it takes." "We'll protect you," she assured me. "But Jody, if Catherine Walsh has been planning this for 30 years, she won't give up easily. We need to stop her, not just hide from her." I looked at Marcus, innocent and unaware of the genetic legacy flowing through his veins. He wasn't just my son. He was the culmination of a mad scientist's dream, the second generation of an experiment that started before I was even born. But he was also just a baby who loved goldfish crackers and story time, a little boy who called me mama and gave slobbery kisses. Whatever Elizabeth Walsh had done to our DNA, whatever enhancements we carried, we were still human, still a family. And I'd fight anyone who tried to reduce us to lab rats. "Then let's stop her," I said. "But first I need to know everything. About Elizabeth's research, about these genetic modifications, about what makes Marcus so special to them. Because if I'm going to protect him, I need to understand what we're really dealing with." Coleman nodded. "I'll get our best geneticists on it. But Jody, you realize what this means. If you and Marcus really are genetically enhanced, then we're not just fighting for our freedom," I finished. "We're fighting for our humanity." The war had taken on a new dimension. It wasn't just about custody or trafficking anymore. It was about the very nature of human evolution and whether one woman's obsession with her dead sister's legacy would be allowed to turn children into experiments. Catherine Walsh thought she was continuing noble work, But there was nothing noble about stealing babies, destroying families, and treating human beings like lab equipment. She'd hidden in the shadows for 30 years. Now it was time to drag her into the light. The FBI safe house felt like a cross between a fortress and a prison. Marcus and I had been there for 3 days while Agent Coleman's team analyzed the USB drive Catherine had left. What they found changed everything. This is beyond anything we imagined, Dr. Amy Chen, the FBI's lead geneticist, explained as she spread documents across the conference table. Elizabeth Walsh wasn't just experimenting with genetic enhancement. She was rewriting the human genome. I studied the complex charts and diagrams my nursing education, helping me understand maybe half of it. What exactly did she do to me? Enhanced cognitive function, increased immune response, accelerated healing, heightened sensory perception. You're essentially human 2.0. And Marcus, she pulled up another file. He's inherited all of that plus whatever natural enhancements occurred in the second generation. His brain develops faster, his cells regenerate more efficiently. He's remarkable. He's my baby, I said firmly, not a science experiment. Of course, but you need to understand why they want him so badly. Marcus represents billions of dollars in potential research. Imagine soldiers who heal faster, scientists who think more clearly, athletes who never tire. He's the prototype for all of it. Coleman entered with a grim expression. We've uncovered the full scope of Catherine's network. It's not just Patricia Morse. She has assets in the CDC, NIH, even DARPA. This goes all the way to national security levels. DARPA, I asked. The Defense Research Agency. They've been funding enhancement research for decades. Catherine's been feeding them data from the trafficking victims' children they've been monitoring since illegal adoption. It's a longitudinal study on a massive scale. How many children? At least 3,000 over 30 years, all selected for specific genetic markers, all placed with families who were told they were regular adoptions. Coleman's face was pale. Some of these kids are adults now with no idea they're part of an experiment. A knock interrupted us. Madison entered looking exhausted but determined. She'd been working with the FBI's financial team to trace the money. I found something, she announced. Catherine Walsh doesn't just own shares in your apartment building. She owns properties in 12 states, all near families with adopted children from the network. She's been watching all of them. Like a farmer watching crops, Dr. Chen muttered. We need to warn those families, I said. We're working on it, but it's delicate. Imagine being told your adopted child is genetically enhanced and part of an illegal experiment. Most people won't believe it. Coleman pulled up a map dotted with red pins. These are all the properties Catherine owns. Notice a pattern. I studied the map. The pins clustered around major cities but also near military bases and research facilities. She's positioning them near potential buyers. We think so. When the children reach adulthood, she plans to reveal their enhancements and auction them to the highest bidder. Military contractors, pharmaceutical companies, foreign governments. That's human trafficking on a whole new level. Madison pulled out her laptop. It gets worse. I hacked into Catherine's personal server. Illegally obtained evidence won't hold up in court, Coleman warned. I don't care about court. I care about stopping her. Madison turned the screen toward us. She's planning something called convergence. All the enhanced children are supposed to be collected on their 21st birthdays. The oldest ones turn 21 next month. My blood ran cold. She's going to kidnap 3,000 people. Not kidnap. According to these emails, she has legal documents, contracts the adoptive parents signed without reading the fine print. Technically, she has custody rights that activate when the children become adults. That can't be legal. It's not, but by the time courts sort it out, the subjects will have vanished into black sites for testing. Coleman stood pacing. We need to find Catherine before convergence begins. I might be able to help with that, said a familiar voice from the doorway. We all turned to see David Hartley in shackles flanked by federal marshals. Absolutely not, Coleman said immediately. Hear me out, David said. Catherine played me too. I thought I was running a trafficking ring getting rich off desperate parents. I had no idea about the genetic modification angle. She used me and I want payback. You tried to steal my son, I snarled. To sell him to what I thought were wealthy parents, not to turn him into a lab rat. Even I have limits. He looked genuinely disturbed. I have children in this program too. Remember, you think I want them experimented on? Coleman considered this. What do you know? Catherine has a private facility in Montana, off the grid, heavily secured. That's where she plans to take the subjects for initial testing. I've been there once. I can draw you a map, provide security codes. In exchange for what? Coleman asked suspiciously. Protective custody for my biological children, all of them, and a reduced sentence. Reduced sentence, I laughed bitterly. You're facing life in prison. Without my help, 3,000 young adults disappear into medical experimentation. With my help, you stop Catherine and save them all. Seems like a fair trade. I hated that he was right. Madison looked torn while Coleman was clearly calculating options. I'll consider it, Coleman finally said. But first prove your information is good. Tell us something we can verify immediately. David smiled. Check the basement of St. Mary's Hospital. Catherine has a hidden lab there. She's been taking tissue samples from newborns for 30 years looking for enhancement candidates. The head of pediatrics, Dr. Morrison, is on her payroll. Coleman immediately made a call. Within an hour, we had confirmation. The lab existed, filled with genetic material from thousands of babies. Dr. Morrison was arrested trying to destroy evidence. The facility in Montana. Coleman said to David, "Talk." As David provided details, I stepped outside for air, my head spinning. Marcus toddled after me into the safe house's secured garden, chasing a butterfly with enhanced reflexes no normal toddler should have. Was that what we were, enhanced humans? The next step in evolution, or just the products of one woman's mad science? You okay? Madison joined me watching Marcus play. I don't know what we are anymore, I admitted. Human experiments, something in between. You're Jody, she said simply. Marcus is Marcus. Whatever's in your DNA doesn't change who you are. It just explains why you're so strong, why you never gave up even when everything was against you. The enhancements gave me strength. No, you gave you strength. The enhancements just made sure your body could keep up with your spirit. Marcus caught the butterfly, gently studied it with unusual focus for a toddler, then let it go. Such careful control for someone so young, such awareness. What happens after we stop Catherine? I asked. The world will know about us, about all of us, 3,000 enhanced humans. We'll never be left alone. Then we make sure the world knows we're people first, enhancement second. We control the narrative. Madison smiled grimly. I've gotten pretty good at social media warfare. We can use that. Coleman returned, looking energized. David's intel checks out. We're planning a raid on the Montana facility. But Jody, there's something else. We found Catherine's research notes in the hospital lab. She's developed a way to activate dormant enhancements in adult subjects. She doesn't need to wait for the 21-year-olds. She can enhance any of the subjects immediately, including me. Especially you. You're Generation Zero, the first successful enhancement. Your dormant abilities could be extraordinary, but the process... Coleman hesitated. It's dangerous, potentially fatal. She's going to try to activate me, use me as some kind of weapon. We think so, which is why you and Marcus need to stay here while we raid the facility. No, I said immediately. I'm done hiding, done being reactive. If Catherine wants me so badly, let's use that. Make me bait. Absolutely not. She's been controlling my entire life, manipulating events since before I was born. It ends now. Set a trap. Let her come for me. But this time, I'll be ready. Coleman started to protest, but Madison interrupted. She's right. Catherine's obsessed with her sister's legacy. She won't be able to resist the chance to complete Elizabeth's work. Activate the Generation Zero subject. It's too tempting. It's too dangerous. I thought of all the families about to lose their children, all the young adults who had no idea they were products of genetic manipulation, all the babies like Marcus who'd be hunted their entire lives if Catherine's network survived. Everything about my life has been dangerous, I said. At least this time I choose the danger. Coleman sighed. I'll need to run it up the chain, but if we do this, we do it my way. Full tactical support. The moment we have Catherine, we extract you. Deal. As we went inside to plan, Marcus reached for me, babbling happily. I picked him up, feeling his small heart beat against mine. Enhanced or not, he was my baby, and I'd face any danger to ensure he grew up free. Catherine Walsh had played God for 30 years. She'd destroyed families, experimented on children, and built an empire on the suffering of others. She thought her sister's legacy gave her the right to control human evolution. She was wrong, and I was going to prove it to her. The trap was set. Now we just had to wait for the spider to walk into her own web. The warehouse district at midnight felt like a mouth waiting to swallow us whole. I stood in the center of an abandoned medical facility wired with enough surveillance equipment to film a documentary. Around me, hidden in shadows and behind false walls, 40 FBI agents waited for Catherine Walsh to take the bait. Bio signs are good. Dr. Chen's voice came through my earpiece. Heart rate elevated but within normal range. You're doing great, Jody. I didn't feel great. I felt like prey staked out for a predator, which essentially I was. The plan was elegantly simple. David had provided Catherine's emergency contact protocols used when high-value subjects were identified. Madison had sent a coded message, Generation Zero located, subject willing to undergo activation, alone, desperate for answers. Catherine had responded within hours. She'd come personally, unable to resist the chance to complete her sister's work. The woman who'd hidden in shadows for 30 years was finally stepping into the light. Movement on the north perimeter, an agent reported. 3 vehicles approaching. Remember? Coleman's voice was steady in my ear. The moment she incriminates herself, we move. Don't try to be a hero. I'm nobody's hero, I muttered. I'm just a mom who wants her life back. The main doors opened with a grinding shriek. Catherine Walsh entered like royalty surveying her domain. Tall, elegant, with the kind of cold beauty that made ice seem warm. Behind her, 6 men in tactical gear spread out, securing the space. "Hello, Jody," she said, her voice carrying easily across the empty floor. "You look so much like Elizabeth. It's uncanny." "Funny how genetics work," I replied, "though you'd know all about that." She laughed a sound like crystal breaking. "Indeed I do. May I approach? I promise my men will keep their distance." "Your men, your rules. I'm just here for answers." She walked toward me with measured steps, her eyes never leaving mine. Up close, I could see the family resemblance. The same high cheekbones as the photos of Elizabeth, the same intelligent eyes. But where Elizabeth's photos showed warmth, Catherine radiated Arctic cold. "You've been very troublesome," she said conversationally, "keeping your pregnancy, raising the child yourself, refusing to disappear quietly. Elizabeth would have been appalled by your stubbornness." "Tell me about her, about what she did to me." "What she did? Oh, my dear girl, she gave you gifts beyond imagining. Your enhanced cognition, your perfect health, your ability to function on minimal sleep. Do you know how many people would kill for what you have? Apparently about 3,000 given your trafficking network." Catherine's smile didn't waver. "Trafficking is such an ugly word. I prefer selective placement. Every child was given to families who could provide excellent homes. They lived good lives. Until you decided to collect them like Pokemon cards. Until they reached the age where their gifts could serve humanity. Do you understand what we could accomplish with an army of enhanced individuals? End disease. Expand human consciousness. Colonize other worlds. Elizabeth saw the future of our species." She saw lab rats, and so do you. Catherine circled me slowly, studying me like a specimen. You're angry. Understandable. Dorothy was supposed to raise you with appreciation for your gifts, prepare you for your destiny. Instead, she let fear turn her cruel, made you think you were ordinary, criminal, really. My destiny, you mean being experimented on, being evolved. The activation process will unlock abilities you can't imagine, enhanced strength, accelerated healing, possibly even low-level telepathy. Elizabeth theorized that Generation Zero subjects could develop extraordinary capabilities. At what cost? Science requires sacrifice. Your sister's life. Catherine's composure cracked slightly. Elizabeth knew the risks. She chose to experiment on herself while pregnant. Her death was unfortunate, but her legacy lives on in you. And Marcus? Ah, yes, Generation 2, even more remarkable than you. His natural enhancement levels are off the charts. With proper cultivation, he could be the pinnacle of human development. Over my dead body, if necessary. The words were delivered casually, but the threat was clear. Though I'd prefer your cooperation. The activation process has a 60% survival rate with a willing subject. With a resistant one, well, the odds drop considerably. 60%. You're talking about a 40% chance of death. Evolution isn't safe, Jody. The weak die so the strong can emerge. Natural selection accelerated. I felt sick. How many have you killed testing this process? Failed, not killed. They failed to evolve, but their sacrifice taught us valuable lessons. Each death brought us closer to perfection. You're insane. I'm a visionary, like Elizabeth was. Catherine pulled out a tablet showing me brain scans and genetic sequences. Look at your neural activity. See these areas? They're dormant, waiting for activation. You're only using 10% of your enhancement. Imagine accessing it all. Imagine being dead because some crazy woman thinks she's playing God. Not playing, succeeding. She gestured to her men who began wheeling in medical equipment. I had hoped you'd come willingly, but I prepared for resistance. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. How about the FBI way? I said loudly. Catherine's eyes widened as agents burst from concealment weapons drawn. Her tactical team reached for their guns but found themselves outnumbered 4-1. Nobody move, Coleman commanded. Catherine Walsh, you're under arrest for human trafficking, kidnapping, conspiracy, and about 50 other charges I'll enjoy reading to you. Catherine looked at me with something like admiration. Clever girl. Elizabeth would be proud. Elizabeth would be horrified by what you've turned her work into. Would she? Catherine smiled sadly. She was willing to die for this research. I've merely been willing to kill for it. As agents moved to cuff her, she pressed something on her tablet. Alarms began blaring throughout the building. What did you do? Coleman demanded. Activated the failsafe. Every enhanced subject in the network just received an emergency alert. They'll know what they are now. 3,000 young adults discovering they're not quite human. Your neat little world is about to become very complicated, Agent Coleman. Shut it down. Can't. It's automated, bouncing through servers worldwide. In 1 hour, every subject receives their full genetic profile and enhancement catalog. Let's see how society handles learning that superhumans walk among them. I lunged forward, but agents held me back. Those are innocent people. They didn't ask for this. Neither did you, but here we are. At least now they'll know why they've always felt different. Why they heal faster, think clearer, need less sleep. I'm setting them free. You're painting targets on their backs. I'm giving them the truth. What they do with it is up to them. She looked at me one last time as they led her away. The activation equipment is automated too, by the way. It'll finish initializing in 10 minutes. You might want to evacuate unless you're curious about your full potential. Coleman grabbed my arm. We're leaving, now. Wait. Dr. Chen was scanning the equipment with a handheld device. This is actually set to activate. The electromagnetic fields are building. If anyone with enhanced genetics stays in range, then they get evolved against their will. I finished. How big is the range? Maybe 100 meters. But Jody, we don't know what this will do to you. I thought about 3,000 people whose lives had just been destroyed by Catherine's dead man switch. Kids who thought they were normal waking up to find they were experiments. Families torn apart by revelation. Marcus is safe at the house, I asked. With a full protection detail, Coleman assured me. Jody, don't even think about it. Someone needs to know what we're dealing with. What happens when enhancement activates? If 3,000 people are about to go through this, not you. We'll find volunteers. I'm Generation Zero, the prototype. If anyone can survive it, it's me. I looked at the building equipment feeling an odd pull. Besides, maybe Catherine's right about one thing. Maybe it's time to stop hiding from what I am. This is insane. No, this is choice. My choice. For the first time in my life. I walked toward the activation chamber. Clear the building. Whatever happens, keep Marcus safe. Jody, Madison's voice came through the comm. Don't do this, we beat her, it's over. It's not over. 3,000 enhanced humans just got outed. The world's about to change. Someone needs to understand what that means. I stepped into the chamber, feeling electricity dance across my skin. Tell Marcus I love him. Tell him Mama's trying to make the world safe for special boys like him. The door sealed. Through the window, I saw Coleman ordering the evacuation agents running for exits. Only Dr. Chen remained frantically working at a console. I'm staying to monitor, she announced. Someone needs to document this. The hum of machinery grew louder. Energy fields visible to my enhanced perception swirled around me. Every cell in my body began to tingle, then burn, then sing. Neural activity spiking, Chen reported. Cellular regeneration increasing. Jody, your vital signs. I couldn't hear the rest. The world exploded into sensation. Every nerve ending fired at once. My DNA unwound and rewound dormant sequences awakening. Memories flooded in. Not mine, but genetic memories. Elizabeth working in her lab. The moment of my conception already altered. Generations of evolution compressed into seconds. Pain beyond description. Ecstasy beyond measure. Death and rebirth cycling endlessly. Then darkness. Then light. I opened eyes that saw everything. Electromagnetic fields, heat signatures, the very life force of the world. My body felt different. Stronger. Faster. More. Jody. Chen's voice was tinny through the intercom. Can you hear me? I can hear everything. I whispered and knew it was true. Heartbeats from a mile away. Radio waves carrying conversations. The Earth's magnetic field humming its ancient song. Your readings are impossible. Brain activity at 300% normal. Cellular regeneration rates off the charts. You're enhanced. I finished. Evolved. Whatever you want to call it. I stood marveling at the grace of movement, the perfect efficiency of muscle and bone. Catherine was right about the potential, wrong about everything else. How do you feel? Like I could run a marathon, solve cold fusion, lift a car. I paused. Like I finally understand what I am. The chamber door opened. Coleman stood there with a mix of awe and fear. The other subjects, the ones who just got activated remotely, they're calling in, reporting similar experiences. Not as intense as yours, but enough to change everything. I stepped out, noting how everyone unconsciously stepped back. We need to help them, guide them, before fear turns the world against us. Us, Coleman asked. Enhanced humans. We're here now. We exist. And thanks to Catherine, everyone's about to know it. I thought of Marcus, of the world he'd grow up in. We need to control the narrative. Show people we're not threats. Aren't you, Dr. Chen asked quietly, with your abilities? I'm the same person I was an hour ago, just more. And that's what we need to teach the world. Enhancement doesn't erase humanity, it amplifies it. Madison burst in, tablet in hand. The media's going crazy. 3,000 people just posted their genetic profiles online. Enhanced Human is trending worldwide. Some are scared, some are excited. A few are already showing off abilities. Then we better get ahead of this, I said. Set up a press conference. Get some of the other enhanced subjects who are willing to talk. Show the world we're not monsters. You want to go public? Coleman asked. Catherine forced our hand. Now we play it smart. I looked at my hands, seeing the energy flowing through them. Besides, hiding hasn't worked out great for me so far. Time to try something new. As we prepared to face the world, I thought about Catherine in custody. She'd triggered a genetic revolution thinking it would cause chaos and fear. Maybe it would. But maybe it would show humanity what it could become. Not through forced evolution or secret experiments, but through acceptance, understanding, and choice. The activation had shown me what I was capable of. Now it was time to show the world that enhanced didn't mean inhuman. It meant hope. The press conference was scheduled for noon at FBI headquarters. By 11:30, every major news outlet in the world had sent representatives. The street outside looked like a concert venue packed with curious crowds, protesters, and supporters. I stood in the green room watching the chaos on monitors while Madison helped me prepare. The enhancement had changed me in subtle ways. My hair seemed to shimmer with health, my skin had a subtle luminescence, and my eyes held flecks of gold that hadn't been there before. You look like yourself just turned up to 11, Madison said, adjusting my microphone. How do you feel? Like I could hear a pin drop in China, I admitted. It's overwhelming, but I'm learning to filter it. Agent Coleman entered with Dr. Chen and 3 other people I didn't recognize. 2 young men and a woman, all looking nervous. These are some of the enhanced subjects who've agreed to speak, Coleman explained. James Chen from Seattle, Marcus Williams from Chicago, and Dr. Sarah Martinez from Houston. You're a doctor? I asked Sarah. She nodded. Pediatric surgeon. I always wondered why I never got tired during 36-hour shifts. Now I know. My enhancement is accelerated healing and enhanced stamina. I'm a firefighter, Marcus Williams added. Enhanced strength and heat resistance, saved 12 people from a burning building last year. Guess my genetics helped. James was younger, maybe 22. Computer programmer, my enhancement is cognitive. I can process code like some people breathe. Started my own tech company at 19. And none of you knew, I asked. We knew we were adopted, Sarah said. Knew we were different. But not this. Not that we were part of some grand experiment. How do you feel about that? Angry, James said immediately. They stole our right to normal lives. Confused, Marcus added, but also relieved. Finally understanding why I've always felt like an outsider. Sarah was thoughtful. I'm grateful for my abilities. They've helped me save lives, but furious about the deception, the lack of choice. Coleman checked her watch. 5 minutes. Remember, stick to the talking points. We're trying to calm fears, not stoke them. I thought of the crowds outside the world watching. 3,000 enhanced humans had just been revealed. Some had already posted videos demonstrating abilities, lifting cars, solving complex equations in seconds, healing from cuts in minutes. The genie was out of the bottle. Actually, I said, I think we should throw out the talking points. Excuse me, Coleman looked alarmed. People are scared because they don't understand. Talking points make us sound rehearsed inhuman. Let's just tell the truth, show them who we are. That's not how this works. None of this is how things are supposed to work. I stood feeling the energy flow through me. We're not politicians or PR campaigns. We're people who just found out our entire lives were built on lies. Let us be human about it. The others nodded agreement. Coleman sighed but relented. Fine, but if this goes south, it won't, I assured her. Trust us. We walked onto the stage to an explosion of camera flashes and shouted questions. The FBI podium had been expanded to accommodate 5 speakers. I took the center microphone, my enhanced vision, letting me see every face in the crowd, every emotion playing across them. Fear, curiosity, wonder, anger. My name is Jodie Parker. I began, my voice carrying clearly without effort. 2 months ago, I was a single mom working as a pediatric nurse, trying to give my son the best life possible. Today, I stand before you as what the media is calling an enhanced human. But I need you to understand something. I'm still that same single mom, still that same nurse, still human. I paused, letting that sink in. 30 years ago, a brilliant scientist named Dr. Elizabeth Walsh experimented on herself while pregnant with me. She altered my DNA, gave me abilities I'm only now beginning to understand. I didn't choose this. Neither did the 3,000 others like me. We were experiments before we were even born. The crowd was silent now, hanging on every word. Some of you are afraid of us. I understand. Fear of the unknown is natural. But I want you to meet some of us, hear our stories, and realize we're not the next step in human evolution. We're not superior beings. We're your neighbors, your co-workers, your children's teachers. We just happen to have some unusual abilities. I stepped back, letting Sarah take the microphone. I'm Dr. Sarah Martinez. I've performed over 500 pediatric surgeries, many of them on children others had given up on. My enhancements, increased stamina and accelerated healing, have helped me save lives. But they don't make me a better doctor. My training does that, my compassion does that, my humanity does that. Marcus Williams spoke next. Every firefighter I know would run into a burning building to save lives. My enhancement means I can stay in the heat a little longer, carry a bit more weight. But the courage, the dedication, that's all human. That's what my adoptive parents taught me, not what's in my DNA. James, the youngest, was clearly nervous. I've been different my whole life. Too smart, too quick, too weird. Finding out why doesn't change who I am. It just gives me context. And honestly, I'm kind of relieved. Now I know I'm not broken. I'm just upgraded. That got a small laugh from the crowd, breaking some tension. I returned to the microphone. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not claiming superiority. We're asking for the same thing anyone wants. The right to live our lives, raise our families, contribute to society. Yes, we have abilities. So do Olympic athletes, virtuoso musicians, brilliant scientists. Humanity has always had variation. We're just another kind. The questions came fast and fierce. Are enhanced humans dangerous? A reporter called. Are regular humans dangerous? I responded. Any ability can be used for good or ill. That's about character, not genetics. What about your children? Will they be enhanced too? My son Marcus is 18 months old. Yes, he's showing signs of enhancement, and I'll raise him to use his gifts responsibly, just like any parent teaches their child to use their talents for good. How do we know you won't try to take over? Marcus Williams laughed. Take over what I like my job. I like my life. Having enhanced strength doesn't make me want to conquer the world. It makes me want to save more people from fires. What about Catherine Walsh's plan, creating a superhuman army? My expression hardened. Catherine Walsh is a criminal who experimented on children without consent. She doesn't represent us any more than any criminal represents the group they come from. We're the victims of her schemes, not the perpetrators. But now that you're activated, aren't you what she wanted to create? No, I said firmly. She wanted weapons, soldiers, tools. We're people. The enhancement doesn't define us. Our choices do, and we choose to be part of society, not apart from it. A young woman in the front raised her hand. I'm adopted. How do I know if I'm enhanced? Dr. Chen stepped forward. The FBI is setting up testing centers. Anyone concerned can get a free genetic screening. But remember, enhancement is rare. Only about 3,000 cases worldwide. What if we don't want to be tested? Then don't, I said. Enhancement doesn't change who you are. If you're happy with your life, live it. Testing is available for those who want answers, not mandatory for anyone. The questions continued for an hour, some hostile, some curious, some supportive. Through it all, I felt the others beside me presenting a united front, not as enhanced humans versus regular humans, but as people standing together. Finally, a little girl, maybe 7, raised her hand. "Are you like superheroes?" I smiled. "No, sweetheart, superheroes are fiction. We're just people with some differences. Like how some people are tall and others are short, some can sing beautifully and others can't carry a tune. We're all human, just with variety." "Cool," she said, and sat down satisfied. As the conference ended, I made one final statement. The world changed today, not because enhanced humans exist. We've always existed hidden in plain sight. It changed because now we all know the truth. What we do with that truth defines us. I choose hope over fear, unity over division, understanding over ignorance. I hope you'll join me. We left the stage to mixed reactions. Some applause, some boos, mostly thoughtful silence. In the green room, Madison hugged me tight. "You did it," she said. "You made them see you as human." "Because we are human," I replied. Enhanced is just an adjective. Human is the noun that matters. Coleman was fielding calls, her expression shifting from worry to relief. Initial polling is better than expected. 60% support integration, 30% are unsure, only 10% want segregation or registration. "It's a start," I said. "More than that. You've given people a framework for understanding. Enhanced humans as part of the spectrum of human diversity, not as a separate species." My phone buzzed. Sarah, my friend watching Marcus, had sent a video. My son was stacking blocks, but not just stacking. He was building complex structures with an understanding of balance and engineering no toddler should have. "Mama's coming home, baby," I whispered to the screen, "and we're going to figure this out together." The world had changed. 3,000 enhanced humans were no longer secrets, but facts. There would be challenges. Fear, prejudice, those who try to exploit us or eliminate us. But there would also be allies, friends, those who saw us as what we were, human beings deserving of dignity and respect. Catherine Walsh had forced us into the light, but we'd chosen what to do once we got there, and we'd chosen to stand tall, speak truth, and claim our place in the human family. The real work was just beginning. Laws would need updating, protections would need establishing, hearts and minds would need changing. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't facing the future alone. I had 3,000 brothers and sisters who understood. I had allies who supported us. I had a son who'd grow up in a world where being different didn't mean being hidden. And I had myself, enhanced, evolved, but ultimately irrevocably human. The revolution Catherine Walsh started wasn't the one she'd intended. Instead of creating weapons, she'd created a community. Instead of fostering fear, she'd forced a conversation about what it meant to be human in all its forms. As I headed home to Marcus, I thought about Elizabeth Walsh, the woman whose experiments started all this. I wondered if she'd be proud or horrified by what her legacy had become. I'd never know. But I knew what legacy I wanted to leave for my son and all the enhanced children growing up in this new world. You are not experiments. You are not weapons. You are not mistakes. You are human. You are loved. You are home. 2 weeks after the press conference, I sat in Angela Morrison's law office surrounded by bankers' boxes of evidence. The media storm had died down to a manageable roar, but the legal battles were just beginning. "We're filing the largest class action lawsuit in American history," Angela announced, spreading documents across her conference table. 3,000 plaintiffs against MedTech Pharmaceuticals, the Walsh estate, and every government official who participated. "We're seeking $50 billion in damages." "Billion with a B?" Marcus Williams asked. He'd become part of our core group along with Dr. Sarah Martinez and James Chen. Conservative estimate. Each of you was trafficked, experimented on without consent, and monitored illegally for years. The psychological damage alone. Angela shook her head. But that's not even the biggest news. She pulled out a folder marked Confidential. Judge Patricia Winter's son, Jeremy, reached out. He's been documenting corruption in the family court system for years, preparing to blow the whistle. He has everything. Recordings, documents, proof of hundreds of cases where children were legally kidnapped through fraudulent proceedings. He's testifying, I asked. More than that, he's providing evidence that implicates 47 judges across 12 states. The judicial branch is about to undergo the biggest corruption purge in history. My phone buzzed with a text from Madison, who is at the Federal Detention Center. David wants to make a deal. Says he has information about Phase 3. Phase 3. Sarah frowned. I thought Phase 2 was the activation of adult subjects. So did we all, I muttered, standing. I need to go hear what he has to say. Angela grabbed my arm. Be careful, Jody. David Hartley would sell his soul for a reduced sentence. Already did that, now he's trying to buy it back. An hour later, I sat across from David in the Federal Detention Center. He looked older, grayer, his expensive tan faded to prison pallor, but his eyes still held that calculating gleam. You look well, he said. Enhancement suits you. Cut the pleasantries. What's Phase 3? Straight to business. I always liked that about you. He leaned forward. Catherine wasn't just collecting enhanced subjects, she was breeding them. Phase 3 is about creating Generation 3, the perfect humans. My blood chilled, breeding them how arranged marriages, forced partnerships. She has genetic profiles on all 3,000 subjects. She's been planning optimal pairings for decades. Generation 3 would have enhancements we can't even imagine. That's sick. That's eugenics. And here's the kicker. She's already started. 15 years ago, she began a pilot program. 20 Generation 1 subjects were paired off and had children. Those children are teenagers now, and their abilities... He shook his head. One can manipulate electromagnetic fields. Another has perfect cellular regeneration. We're talking Wolverine-level healing. A third can process information like a quantum computer. Where are these children? That's what I'm offering. The location of all 20 Generation 3 subjects in exchange for minimum security placement and protective custody for my biological children. I wanted to refuse on principle, but 20 enhanced teenagers in Catherine's hands, we couldn't leave them there. I need proof you actually know their location. He smiled. Emma Fitzgerald, 15 years old, adopted by a family in Denver who thinks she's just gifted. She can heal others with a touch. Catherine's been watching her, waiting to collect her on her 18th birthday. You're telling me there's a teenager in Denver who can heal people. Among other things, her biological parents were both enhanced. Mother with regeneration, father with energy manipulation. Combined, they created a child who can channel energy to repair cellular damage in others. Catherine called her the first true miracle of Generation 3. I stood to leave. I'll verify this. If you're lying... I'm not. Check Denver Children's Hospital. Emma volunteers there. The staff thinks she has a magic touch with terminal patients. They have no idea how right they are. Outside the detention center, I immediately called Coleman. Within hours, FBI agents had confirmed Emma Fitzgerald's existence and her unusual volunteer record. Every child she'd worked with had experienced miraculous improvements. We need to protect these kids, Coleman said during our emergency meeting. If there are 20 Generation 3 subjects out there, they're in immediate danger. Not just from Catherine's network, Dr. Chen added. Once word gets out that teenagers exist who can heal with a touch or manipulate energy, every government, corporation, and extremist group in the world will want them. Madison pulled up her laptop. I've been tracking chatter on the dark web. There's already a bounty system developing. $5 million for a verified enhanced human, $20 million for a Generation 3 subject. Human trafficking evolving with the times, Sarah said bitterly. We need to find them first, I decided. Offer them protection support community. They must be terrified manifesting abilities they don't understand. I'll coordinate with local FBI offices, Coleman said. But Jody, this is bigger than we thought. Generation 3 means enhancement is inheritable, combinable. The implications are tomorrow's problem, I interrupted. Today we saved 20 teenagers from becoming lab rats. The next 72 hours were a whirlwind. Using David's information, we located all 20 Generation 3 subjects. The variety of abilities was staggering. Telepathy, telekinesis, molecular manipulation, enhanced intelligence that made regular enhancement look primitive. Emma Fitzgerald was the first we approached. I went personally figuring one enhanced human to another might be less threatening. I found her at Denver Children's Hospital sitting with a young cancer patient. Emma, I said softly, I'm Jody Parker. I think we need to talk. She looked up with eyes that seemed to see through me. You're enhanced. I can sense your energy signature. And you can do a lot more than sense energy, can't you? She glanced at the sleeping child beside her. Lucy's tumor shrank 40% since I started visiting. The doctors call it spontaneous remission. Her voice dropped. But it's not spontaneous, is it? I'm doing something to her. Healing her, and that's a gift, Emma, but it's also put you in danger. I explained everything. The enhancement program, Catherine's plans, the protection we were offering. Emma listened with the poise of someone who'd always known she was different. My adoptive parents don't know, she said finally. They love me, but they'd be terrified if they knew what I could do. They don't have to know unless you want them to, but you need protection. There are people who'd hurt you for your abilities, and people who'd use me to hurt others. She touched the sleeping child gently. I've been careful, only helping when I knew it wouldn't be noticed. But lately, it's getting stronger, harder to control. We can help with that. There are others like you, Generation 3 subjects still learning their abilities. You don't have to figure this out alone. She agreed to FBI protection, and her adoptive parents were told she'd won a scholarship to a special school for gifted students. Not entirely a lie. One by one, we gathered the Generation 3 subjects, a boy in Portland who could phase through solid matter, twins in Miami who shared a psychic connection that let them coordinate perfectly, a girl in Boston whose intelligence made quantum physics look like basic arithmetic. But it was the last subject that shocked us all. Michael Coleman, David had said. 17 years old, location unknown, abilities unknown, but Catherine considered him the crown jewel of Generation 3. Coleman, the same last name as Agent Jennifer Coleman and Marcus's biological father. When I confronted Jennifer, she broke down. My brother didn't die in Afghanistan. That was the cover story. He was Generation 1, enhanced strength and tactical analysis. He fell in love with another enhanced subject, Rebecca Torres. They had Michael, but Catherine's people found out. They killed my brother and Rebecca in what looked like a car accident and took the baby. You've been looking for your nephew this whole time. For 17 years. When this case started, when I realized what you were, I hoped it would lead me to him. She wiped her eyes. Now we know he's alive, but not where. We'll find him, I promised. David must know more. But when we returned to question David, we found chaos. The detention center was in lockdown, alarms blaring. In the medical wing, David Hartley lay dying foam on his lips. Poison, the doctor confirmed. Sophisticated neurotoxin. Someone wanted him silent. David grabbed my hand with surprising strength. The director, not Catherine. Never Catherine. Who's the real director? Walsh. But not Elizabeth. His eyes were wild with fear. Elizabeth, alive. That's impossible. She died 30 years ago. No, she became... His body convulsed. Find Michael, he knows. David Hartley died at 4:17 p.m., taking his secrets with him. In the parking lot, our team regrouped, shaken by the assassination and David's final words. "Elizabeth Walsh alive," Madison said. "That's insane." "Is it?" Dr. Chen pulled up old medical records on her tablet. Elizabeth's death certificate was signed by one doctor, Catherine Walsh. No autopsy. Closed casket funeral. What if she faked her death to continue her experiments in secret? I finished. What if Catherine was just the public face while Elizabeth worked from the shadows? For 30 years, Coleman sounded skeptical. She was experimenting with enhancement while pregnant. Who knows what she did to herself? Extended lifespan could be possible. If she's alive, she's in her 60s now, Sarah pointed out. But with enhancement, she could be anyone, anywhere, I said. And she's cleaning house. Catherine's arrested David's dead. She's eliminating everyone who could identify her. My phone buzzed. An unknown number had sent a video. I opened it and gasped. On screen was a teenager who looked exactly like a young version of Marcus's father, Michael Coleman, alive and standing in what appeared to be a high-tech laboratory. "Aunt Jennifer," he said, looking directly at the camera. "I know you've been searching for me. Stop. I'm where I belong, with someone who understands what I am, what we all are. Evolution doesn't go backward." The camera panned to show a woman in shadow. When she stepped into the light, my enhanced vision caught details others might miss. The way she moved with too much grace, the subtle luminescence of her skin, eyes that held depths of intelligence that seemed almost alien. "Hello, Jody," the woman said. "My name is Dr. Elizabeth Walsh. I believe it's time we met properly, mother to mother, creator to creation. Come alone to the coordinates attached to this message. Bring anyone else, and young Michael here learns what happens to failed experiments." The video ended. The coordinates showed a location in the Montana mountains, the same facility David had told us about. "It's a trap," Coleman said immediately. "Of course it is. But she has Michael, your nephew Jennifer." I looked at my friend, saw the anguish in her eyes. And she's right about one thing. It's time to end this. 30 years of manipulation, of treating people like lab rats. It ends now. "You can't go alone," Madison protested. "I won't, but she'll think I am." I turned to the group. "We've got 24 hours to plan the raid of the century. The real director is waiting, and she's holding all the cards. Time to shuffle the deck." As we dispersed to plan, I thought about the twisted web Elizabeth Walsh had woven. Faking her death, using her sister as a proxy, building an empire on the backs of stolen children, all for her vision of human evolution. But evolution isn't just about genetics. It's about choice, about adaptation, about survival of the fittest. And I was about to show Elizabeth Walsh that the fittest weren't necessarily the most enhanced. Sometimes they were just the most determined to protect their own. The real war was about to begin. The Montana facility rose from the mountains like a fortress of glass and steel, somehow both futuristic and forbidding. I approached alone as demanded, but my enhanced senses could detect Coleman's teams positioned throughout the forest. Snipers on ridges, tactical units ready to breach. Madison monitoring everything from the mobile command center. The front doors opened automatically. No guards, no visible security. Elizabeth Walsh was either supremely confident or completely insane. Maybe both. I walked through sterile corridors lined with observation windows. Behind them, laboratories that would make NASA jealous. In one, teenagers practiced abilities. A girl making plants grow at accelerated rates, a boy manipulating water into impossible shapes. They looked well cared for, but somehow vacant, like dolls arranged in a display. Impressive, isn't it? I turned to find Elizabeth Walsh standing behind me. Up close, her enhancement was even more apparent. She looked 40, not 60, with an ethereal quality that made her seem not quite human. Kidnapping children and experimenting on them, not the word I'd use. She smiled. I prefer to think of it as providing advanced education. These children were wasting away in normal schools, their gifts atrophying. Here they flourish. Like Michael Coleman is holding your best friend's son, hostage considered flourishing? Michael came willingly once he understood his potential. Would you like to see him? She led me deeper into the facility, past more labs, training rooms, medical bays, everything pristine, advanced cold. You know, Elizabeth said conversationally, you were my first true success, growing inside me, sharing my enhanced blood, developing beyond anything I'd imagined. When you were born, I knew I'd created something extraordinary. Then why abandon me? Why fake your death? Because Catherine convinced me you'd be safer hidden, that my enemies would use you against me. I was young, foolish, still partly human in my thinking. She paused at a heavy door, inputting a complex code. It took years to realize my mistake. By then, Dorothy had hidden you too well. But I watched, always watched. Waited for you to have a child of your own so I could see if enhancement bred true. And when Marcus was born, I knew my theories were correct. Enhancement could be passed on, combined, evolved, each generation stronger than the last. The door opened to reveal a vast training arena. Michael, our guest, has arrived. Michael Coleman stood in the center, surrounded by holographic targets. With casual grace, he destroyed them using a combination of enhanced strength, speed, and tactical precision that made Special Forces operatives look clumsy. "Hello, Jody," he said, not even breathing hard. "Grandmother Elizabeth said you'd come." Grandmother. I looked at Elizabeth. "You're not his—" "Oh, but I am, in a way. I created the enhancement that runs through his veins, that makes all of you my children, my grandchildren, my legacy." "We're people, not legacy." "You're both." She gestured, and the arena transformed into a comfortable sitting area. "Please, let's talk like civilized beings. Michael, tell Jody why you chose to stay." The teenager's eyes were intelligent but cold. "Because out there I'd always be hiding, pretending to be less than I am. Here I can explore my full potential without fear. Your aunt has been searching for you for 17 years. The aunt who lied about my father's death, who let me be taken." He shook his head. "Grandmother Elizabeth told me the truth, how the government wanted to weaponize us, how she saved me from becoming a soldier." I saw the manipulation, the careful grooming. "Elizabeth, what do you really want? Why reveal yourself now?" She sat gracefully, gesturing for me to join her. "Because the world has changed. Enhancement is public knowledge. The time for hiding is over. Now comes the time for leadership." Leadership. Someone needs to guide the enhanced, teach them, protect them from those who would exploit or destroy them. Who better than the woman who created them? You want to rule over 3,000 enhanced humans? I want to nurture them, help them become what they're meant to be, starting with the crown jewel, Marcus. My blood turned to ice. "You'll never touch my son." Our son, in a sense. "My genetics evolved through you, perfected in him." She leaned forward. "Join me, Jody. Help me guide our people into the future. Together, we could create wonders. Together, we'd be perpetuating the same system of control you've used for 30 years. Control, I call it cultivation. Look at Michael. Strong, capable, reaching his full potential. Compare that to the enhanced, living in fear outside, hiding their abilities, denying their nature. Living free lives, making their own choices. Making mistakes, wasting gifts." She stood pacing. "Do you know how many enhanced have already been captured by various governments since the Revelation 43? Being tested, weaponized, tortured for their secrets. I could protect them all. By imprisoning them, by giving them sanctuary." Her composure cracked slightly. "I've spent 30 years building this place, creating safe havens worldwide. Yes, I've made hard choices. Yes, I've hurt people, but all in service of a greater good, ensuring enhanced humans have a future." Catherine said the same thing when she was trafficking children. Catherine was a blunt instrument, useful for gathering subjects but lacking vision. She saw profit where I saw potential. And David, a necessary evil. His legal network helped place enhanced children with families who could afford the best education healthcare opportunities. Not perfect, but better than letting them languish in the system. You're justifying human trafficking. I'm explaining pragmatism. The world wasn't ready for us 30 years ago. I did what was necessary to preserve and cultivate enhancement until humanity could accept us. And now we step into the light, but carefully with guidance. With me as director, you as my successor, the Generation 3 subjects as our counsel. We build a society within society, enhanced humans reaching their full potential while gradually showing the world what we can offer. A genetic aristocracy. An evolutionary vanguard. She touched a control and screens around the room lit up showing enhanced humans worldwide. Some in custody, others hiding, many struggling with abilities they didn't understand. They need us, Jody. They need structure, training, purpose. They need freedom, the right to choose their own paths. Choice without knowledge is chaos. Look at the fear and violence already erupting. Enhanced humans attacked in the streets, governments drafting legislation for registration control, even elimination. Without unified leadership, we'll be destroyed piecemeal. I stood feeling the weight of thousands of lives in the balance. You might be right about the dangers, but your solution is just another cage, gilded though it may be. Enhancement doesn't make us better than human, it makes us more human, with all the complexity that entails. Naive idealism. Hard-won wisdom. I've spent months fighting people who tried to control me, define me, use me. I won't become what I fought against. Elizabeth studied me with those impossibly deep eyes. Then we are at an impasse. I cannot let you leave knowing what you know, and you cannot accept what I offer. Actually, I said, touching the emergency beacon in my pocket, there's a third option. The facility's alarms began blaring as Coleman's teams breached the perimeter. Elizabeth's eyes widened, then narrowed. You brought them here, to my sanctuary. I brought justice for all the children you stole, all the families you destroyed, all the lives you twisted in service to your vision. My vision was evolution. Your vision was ego. You wanted to be God, creating new humans in your image. But evolution isn't designed. It's not controlled. It happens through countless individual choices, adaptations, survival strategies. You forgot the most important part of being human. We're not meant to be controlled. Michael moved to defend Elizabeth, but I held up a hand. Michael, they're not here to hurt anyone. They're here to free the enhanced children being held here, to shut down illegal experimentation, to give everyone choices. Grandmother Elizabeth saved me. She isolated you, told you lies about your father, your aunt, made you dependent on her approval. I saw uncertainty flicker in his eyes. Your Aunt Jennifer has every letter she wrote you, every birthday card returned unopened. She never stopped looking for you. Silence, Elizabeth commanded, but her hold was breaking. FBI agents flooded the training arena, weapons drawn but not aimed. Coleman herself entered, eyes locked on her nephew. Michael, she said, voice breaking, I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you, but I never stopped loving you, never stopped searching. She's lying, Elizabeth insisted. I'm the only family you need. But Michael was looking at the pain in Jennifer's eyes, the photos she pulled from her pocket. Him as a baby, his parents, the family he'd been denied. You said they abandoned me, he whispered to Elizabeth. To protect you from a world that would use you. To protect yourself, I corrected. To maintain control over your experiment. Around us, agents were freeing the enhanced teenagers, reuniting some with families, offering others safe placement. The facility's computers were being secured, decades of illegal research preserved as evidence. You're destroying everything, Elizabeth raged. Decades of work, the future of human evolution. No, I said quietly, we're setting it free. Evolution happens in the wild, not in cages. Enhancement will develop naturally through choice and chance and the beautiful chaos of life, not through your controlled breeding programs. She lunged at me with enhanced speed, but I was ready. My own enhancement flared and we collided in a burst of kinetic energy that shattered nearby windows. We were matched, creator and creation first generation and prototype. But I had something she didn't. I had something worth fighting for beyond myself. You want to know the real difference between us, I said as we grappled. You enhanced yourself for power. I was enhanced before birth without choice. But I choose what to do with it. I choose to protect, not control. To nurture, not dominate. Weakness. Strength. The strength to trust others. To believe in humanity's potential without trying to force it into your mold. Security forces separated us, restraining Elizabeth with specially designed suppression technology. As they led her away, she looked back one last time. You'll regret this. When enhanced humans are hunted, experimented on, destroyed, remember, you could have saved them, could have led them. I will lead them, I promised. By example, not decree. By showing the world that enhanced humans are still human, that we can integrate, contribute, thrive without dominance or segregation. She laughed bitterly. Idealistic fool, you'll learn. When they come for Marcus, when they try to take him, like they took all the others, you'll understand. Control is the only protection. Love is the only protection. Community, trust, everything you forgot in your pursuit of perfection. They took her away, the woman who'd created me, abandoned me, then tried to reclaim me. The mother I'd never known and now never wanted to know. Michael stood between Jennifer and the agents, torn between the only life he'd known and the family he'd been denied. I don't know you, he told Jennifer. I know, but I'd like to change that if you'll let me. She held out a hand. No force, no control. Just an aunt who's missed 17 years of your life and hopes to be part of whatever comes next. He took her hand tentatively. Around us, enhanced teenagers were making similar choices, some returning to families, others choosing new paths, all finally free to decide for themselves. What happens now? Sarah asked, surveying the chaos. Now we build, I said. Support networks for enhanced humans, education programs, integration initiatives. We show the world what Elizabeth never understood. That enhancement is just another form of human diversity. Not better or worse, just different. And the research, Dr. Chen gestured to the vast facility. Decades of data on enhancement. We study it, ethically, with consent. Learn what we can to help enhanced humans understand themselves. But no more experiments, no more breeding programs, no more playing God. Madison appeared on a screen from the command center. Jody, you need to see this. We're accessing Elizabeth's files. There aren't just 3,000 enhanced humans. There are tens of thousands, scattered worldwide. Different programs, different countries. She was just one node in a global network. I felt the weight of that settle on my shoulders. Not 3,000 souls looking for guidance. Tens of thousands. A diaspora of enhanced humans, some knowing what they were, others still in the dark. Then we have work to do, I said. Time to stop hiding and start helping. Time to show the world that enhancement doesn't mean supremacy. It means possibility. As we left the facility, Michael walked beside his aunt, asking tentative questions about his father. Other enhanced teenagers chatted with FBI agents, social workers, and counselors. The fear was fading, replaced by curiosity and hope. Elizabeth had built her empire on control. We'd build our community on choice. She'd created us to be weapons. We'd choose to be bridges. The future of enhancement wouldn't be decided in hidden facilities or secret programs. It would be decided in the open, with all of humanity participating in the conversation. Evolution, after all, had never been about perfection. It had always been about adaptation, and we were about to adapt to a world where enhanced and baseline humans could coexist, learn from each other, and maybe even thrive together. The real experiment was just beginning. The federal courthouse in Washington, D.C. had never seen anything like it. Enhanced humans from around the world gathered to witness the trial of the century. Elizabeth Walsh faced 237 counts, ranging from kidnapping to human experimentation. Catherine Walsh, her sister and accomplice, sat beside her, looking decades older than her enhanced sibling. I sat in the witness section with other enhanced individuals who'd testified: Marcus Williams, the firefighter, Dr. Sarah Martinez, James Chen, even Michael Coleman, who'd agreed to speak against the woman who'd claimed to be his grandmother. The prosecution calls Jody Parker to the stand. I walked forward, feeling hundreds of eyes on me. In the months since Elizabeth's arrest, I'd become an unofficial spokesperson for enhanced humans. The press called me the first, the prototype who'd broken free. Ms. Parker. The prosecutor began, "You are uniquely positioned to speak about the defendant's actions. You were the first successful enhancement subject carried by Dr. Elizabeth Walsh herself. Can you tell the court about the impact of her experiments?" I looked at Elizabeth, seeing no remorse in those enhanced eyes. Dr. Walsh created me to be a proof of concept, not a daughter, not even a person. Just evidence that enhancement could work. She abandoned me at birth, faked her death, and let me spend 30 years believing I was nobody special, just an abandoned baby with a cruel adoptive mother. And when you had your own child, she orchestrated his attempted kidnapping, manipulated my family, my ex, the courts, all to get her hands on what she called Generation 2. My son was never a baby to her. He was data, a specimen, the next iteration of her experiment. "Objection," Elizabeth's lawyer called. "Speculation about my client's motivations." "Sustained. Stick to facts, Ms. Parker." I nodded. The facts are that Elizabeth Walsh built a network spanning 30 years and 6 continents. She facilitated the trafficking of thousands of enhanced children. She destroyed families, corrupted institutions, and treated human beings as lab rats, all in service to her vision of controlled evolution. And what of that vision the defense claims Dr. Walsh was trying to protect enhanced humans? Protection in prison can look very similar from the inside. Yes, the world can be dangerous for those who are different, but the solution isn't to hide us away, to control our lives, to breed us like livestock. The solution is education integration and respect for human dignity, enhanced or otherwise. Or, the defense attorney stood for cross-examination. "Ms. Parker, aren't you alive because of my client's work, enhanced because of her genius? I'm alive because I'm human, enhanced because she experimented on me without consent. There's a difference between creation and violation. But without her work, thousands of enhanced humans wouldn't exist. Without her work, thousands of families wouldn't be destroyed. Thousands of children wouldn't have grown up as experiments. The advancement of science doesn't justify the abandonment of ethics. You've publicly stated that enhancement should be celebrated. Isn't that exactly what Dr. Walsh believed?" No. She believed enhancement should be controlled, directed, owned. I believe it should be understood, accepted, chosen. Every enhanced human should have the right to live freely, not as part of someone's grand design. Even if that freedom leads to chaos to enhanced humans using their abilities for crime. Even if it leads to exactly the same mix of good and bad that exists in all humanity. Enhancement doesn't make us angels or demons. It just makes us more capable of being ourselves. The questioning continued for hours. I detailed the network, the breeding programs, the plans for Generation 3 and beyond. With each revelation, the jury looked more horrified. Other witnesses followed, parents who'd lost children, enhanced adults discovering their entire lives were lies, scientists horrified by the breach of ethics. Michael Coleman's testimony was particularly powerful. "She told me I was special," he said quietly, "that I was destined for greatness, but all she saw was genetic potential. Not the boy who liked basketball, not the teenager who wrote poetry, just a collection of enhanced genes to be optimized. On the third day of testimony, something unexpected happened. Emma Fitzgerald, the healer from Denver, asked to address the court. "I wasn't called as a witness," she said, "but I need to speak, not about crimes or victimization, about choice." The judge, intrigued, allowed it. Emma stood before the packed courtroom, her presence commanding despite her youth. Dr. Walsh's greatest crime wasn't enhancement. It wasn't even trafficking. It was theft of choice. She decided who we would be before we were born, decided where we would live, who would raise us, what we would become. She stole our right to discover ourselves. She turned to Elizabeth. "You gave me the ability to heal. I'm grateful for that. But you also tried to steal my humanity, to make me a tool in your vision instead of a person with my own. That's the crime that can't be forgiven." Elizabeth stood suddenly, her lawyer trying unsuccessfully to stop her. "You ungrateful children," she said, her composure finally cracking. "I gave you gifts beyond imagination, made you more than human. And this is how you repay me, by choosing mediocrity, by integrating with lessers." "We're choosing humanity," I said from my seat, "something you forgot long ago. Humanity is obsolete. Enhancement is the future. You're throwing away godhood for the comfort of fitting in." The judge banged his gavel, but Elizabeth wasn't done. "When they come for you, and they will, when they fear your abilities and try to destroy you, remember this moment. Remember you chose their acceptance over your own evolution. You chose to crawl when I taught you to fly." Security moved to restrain her, but she looked directly at me. "You most of all, Jody. My first success, my greatest disappointment. You could have been a goddess. Instead, you chose to be merely human." "The greatest choice I ever made," I replied. As they led her away, Catherine Walsh spoke for the first time since the trial began. "My sister was brilliant," she said softly. "But brilliance without conscience is just elaborate cruelty. I helped her because I loved her, because I thought she could remake the world. I was wrong. The world doesn't need remaking. It needs understanding." The trial continued for 2 more weeks. Financial experts testified about the money laundering. Medical ethicists condemned the experimentation. Enhanced humans shared stories of discovery and violation. When the verdict came, it surprised no one. Guilty on all counts. Elizabeth Walsh was sentenced to life in federal prison, with the judge noting that her enhanced physiology meant she might serve every day of multiple life sentences. Catherine, showing genuine remorse, received 25 years with possibility of parole. Outside the courthouse, thousands gathered, enhanced and non-enhanced humans standing together. Some protesters demanded harsher sentences. Others called for research into enhancement to continue ethically. Most simply wanted to move forward. "What now?" a reporter asked me. "Now we heal," I said. "We build bridges between enhanced and non-enhanced. We help those still discovering their abilities. We prove that diversity, genetic or otherwise, makes us stronger, not divided. And the enhancement research, should it continue, with consent, with ethics, with the understanding that we're studying people, not products. Enhancement is part of humanity now. We can't uninvent it, but we can choose how we move forward." A young, enhanced woman approached, tears in her eyes. "I just found out last month. My whole life was a lie. How do you deal with that?" "By deciding your life starts now," I told her. "The past was stolen from us, but the future, that's ours to write." As the crowd dispersed, Madison found me. "Elizabeth's network is completely dismantled. Every enhanced human identified and offered support. It's over." "No." I corrected, watching enhanced and non-enhanced individuals talking, sharing, beginning to understand each other. "It's just beginning. The hard part was never stopping Elizabeth. It was figuring out what comes next." "And what does come next?" I thought of Marcus safe at home with Sarah, playing with blocks and showing abilities that would once have marked him as an experiment. Now he was just a little boy with gifts, growing up in a world learning to accept difference. "We live," I said simply. "Enhanced or not, we're all human. Time to act like it." The sun set over D.C., painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. Somewhere in a federal prison, Elizabeth Walsh sat in an enhanced capacity cell, her dreams of controlled evolution shattered. But outside, in the real world, evolution continued as it always had, messy, unpredictable, and beautiful. We weren't her creations anymore. We were our own. And that made all the difference. 6 months after Elizabeth Walsh's conviction, I stood in a different courtroom for what the media called the Trial of the Century Part 2. This time, it wasn't just about enhanced humans. It was about the entire system that had enabled 30 years of trafficking experimentation and horror. Caroline Hartley had died believing she'd taken her secrets to the grave. She was wrong. The prosecution enters into evidence the complete video recordings of Caroline Hartley taken over a 5-year period, the prosecutor announced. The courtroom collectively held its breath as the first video played. Caroline, very much alive on screen despite having died months ago, spoke directly to the camera. "My name is Caroline Hartley. Today is March 15th, and I've just helped my husband arrange the murder of Amanda Chen. She was pregnant with his child and threatening to expose our operation. By the time anyone sees this, I'll likely be dead, so consider this my confession from beyond the grave." Gasps rippled through the gallery. I gripped Madison's hand as her mother's image continued its devastating testimony. "I've recorded everything. Every murder, every bribe, every child stolen and sold. David thinks he's the mastermind, but I've been documenting his crimes for years. Call it insurance. Call it conscience. Call it the revenge of a dying woman who spent her life enabling monsters." What followed was 5 hours of the most damning evidence ever presented in federal court. Caroline had hidden cameras throughout their home offices, even in David's car. She'd recorded conversations with judges, cops, CPS workers, and worse. But the most shocking revelation came near the end. "David has killed 7 women who threatened our operation," Caroline's recorded voice stated clinically. "But those were just the ones who had his children. There were others. Women who discovered the enhancement network, journalists who got too close, even a federal investigator 10 years ago. I have their names, the dates, the methods, everything." The screen showed a list. 43 names. 43 lives ended to protect the trafficking network. David Hartley, already serving life for trafficking, sat in the defendant's chair looking like a cornered animal. His expensive lawyers had abandoned him once the murder charges were filed. The court-appointed attorney looked ready to be sick. "Mr. Hartley." The prosecutor continued. "Your deceased wife documented your ordering the deaths of Patricia Holcomb, Jennifer Reeves, and Maria Santos. All 3 women had enhanced children. All 3 threatened to expose your operation. All 3 died in accidents within days of contacting you." "She's lying," David erupted. "Caroline was sick, delusional from the cancer." "Then how do you explain this?" The prosecutor played audio of David on the phone, his voice clear and cold. "Make it look like an accident. Single car, late at night. She lives on Canyon Road. Plenty of curves to choose from." 2 days later, Patricia Holcomb's car had gone off Canyon Road in exactly the manner described. I testified about my own experience, but this time it felt different. This wasn't about enhancement or evolution. This was about pure human evil, the corruption that let powerful people destroy lives without consequence. "David Hartley tried to steal my son," I said, looking directly at him, "but that was just the latest in a pattern of treating human lives as commodities. He killed women who said no, sold children like property, corrupted entire systems meant to protect the vulnerable. Enhancement was just his latest market. Before that, it was regular adoption fraud. After, it would have been something else. People like him don't need superhuman abilities to be monsters. They just need opportunity and the belief that they're above consequences." Objection. David's lawyer protested weakly. Prejudicial. Overruled, the witness may continue. I've spent months being asked if enhanced humans are dangerous, if we're a threat to society. But look at the real threats. David Hartley, baseline human. Judge Patricia Winters, baseline human. The entire network of corruption. Baseline humans who sold their souls for money and power. Enhancement didn't create evil. It just gave evil new opportunities. Other witnesses followed. FBI agents who'd uncovered more bodies. Forensic accountants who'd traced blood money through dozens of accounts. Families of victims, some learning for the first time how their loved ones had really died. Madison testified, last her voice steady despite tears. My mother was a monster. So was my father. But in her final days, she chose to document everything. Not out of goodness, she was too far gone for that, but out of spite. She wanted him to burn for choosing his affairs over her. Even evil can sometimes serve justice. The jury deliberated for less than an hour, guilty on all counts, 43 counts of murder in the first degree. The judge's sentence was swift and merciless. David Hartley, you are sentenced to death. Given the number and severity of your crimes, you will be held on death row until such time as your execution can be carried out. May God have mercy on your soul, because this court has none to spare. As they led him away, David looked at me one last time. This isn't over. You think you've won, but there are others. Powerful people who won't let enhanced humans exist freely. They'll come for you. For Marcus. For all of them. Then we'll be ready, I replied. Because unlike you, we're not alone. We have each other. Outside the courthouse, a crowd had gathered. Enhanced humans and their supporters on one side, protesters demanding registration and control on the other. The divide seemed impossibly wide until a small voice cut through the noise. Mama. Marcus broke free from Sarah's hand and ran to me, his enhanced speed making him a blur. I caught him lifting him high as cameras flashed around us. Is the bad man gone? He asked innocently. Yes, baby, the bad man's gone. Good, can we go home now? Home. Such a simple word for such a complex concept. But as I looked around at the gathered crowd, enhanced and baseline victims and survivors, all united in seeing justice done, I realized home wasn't just a place. It was a community. Yeah, I said, kissing his forehead. Let's go home. The crowd parted as we walked through. Some reached out in support. Others pulled back in fear. But more and more were simply nodding, acknowledging our shared humanity. Agent Coleman met us at the car. That's the last of the major players. Elizabeth in prison for life, David on death row, Catherine serving her time, Patricia Morse flipped and gave us hundreds more names. The network is done. The criminal network, I corrected. But there's still work to do. Hearts and minds to change. Enhanced humans to support. Integration to achieve. Speaking of which, Coleman smiled. Congress passed the Enhanced Rights Act this morning. Full protection under law. No discrimination in employment, housing, or services. No mandatory registration. No segregation. You're officially just as human as the rest of us. We always were. Now it's just legal. As we drove away, Marcus played with his toy cars in the back seat, making them fly in ways that defied physics. His gift manifesting naturally without fear or shame. What happens now? Sarah asked. Now we build the future Elizabeth claimed to want, but never understood how to create. A world where enhanced humans can thrive alongside everyone else. Where gifts are celebrated, not exploited. Where children like Marcus grow up proud of who they are. Think we can do it? I thought of all we'd overcome. The trafficking, the experimentation, the murder, the systemic corruption. We'd brought down an empire built on exploitation. Surely we could build something better in its place. We're enhanced humans, I said with a smile. We're capable of anything. The sun set over the city as we headed home. Somewhere thousands of enhanced humans were living their lives as doctors, teachers, artists, parents, some using their gifts professionally, others just enjoying the small enhancements that made life a little easier. We'd won more than court cases. We'd won the right to exist openly, to be ourselves without fear or shame. Elizabeth had tried to control evolution. David had tried to profit from it. But evolution, true evolution, had happened anyway, not in labs or through breeding programs, but in the choices of thousands of individuals deciding to live authentically. As Marcus fell asleep in his car seat, I made a silent promise. The world he grew up in would be different, better. A place where being special didn't mean being separate, where enhancement was just another word for human variation. We'd paid for that future in blood and tears, but as I looked at my sleeping son, I knew it was worth every drop. The war was over. Now came the harder task, building the peace. But we were ready. Enhanced or baseline, we were all in this together. And together, we'd create something beautiful. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning, delivered by a courier who insisted on biometric confirmation before handing it over, inside a single sheet of paper and a DNA test kit. Jody, if you're reading this, the trials are over and the truth about enhancement is public. There's one last secret that needs revealing. Michael Coleman isn't who you think he is. Neither is Marcus. Test them both. Compare the results to the enclosed sample. The truth will change everything. A friend. No signature. The return address was a law firm in Switzerland that claimed attorney-client privilege when Coleman tried to trace it. It could be a trap, Coleman warned as we sat in her office. Someone trying to stir up trouble now that things are stabilizing. Or it could be another layer of Elizabeth's network we haven't uncovered, I countered. We should at least test it. Michael Coleman, now living with his Aunt Jennifer and attending college, agreed to the test immediately. After everything I've learned about my life being a lie, what's one more revelation? Dr. Chen ran the tests personally, comparing Michael's DNA, Marcus's DNA, and the mystery sample. What she found sent shockwaves through our entire understanding of the enhancement program. This can't be right, she muttered, running the test a third time. The genetic markers, the enhancement signatures. What is it? I demanded. She looked up, face pale. The mystery sample. It's from Marcus's biological father, the real one. And it's not who you think. My heart stopped. What do you mean his father was Michael Coleman Sr. Jennifer's brother? We have the death certificate, the military records. All fake. She pulled up the comparison charts. Marcus's actual biological father is sitting right here. Michael Coleman Jr. is Marcus's father, not his second cousin. The room spun. That's impossible. Michael's only 17. Marcus is 2. That would mean I fathered a child at 15, Michael said quietly. Which I didn't. I think I'd remember that. Dr. Chen pulled up more data. This is where it gets complicated. The enhancement signatures show generational progression, but not the way we understood. Michael, your DNA shows markers of generation 3.5. Someone bred from 2 different enhanced lines over multiple generations. Marcus shows as generation 4. But I'm supposed to be generation 2, I protested, Elizabeth's direct creation. Unless Jennifer Coleman had gone very still. Unless Elizabeth lied about more than we knew. Amy, run my DNA. Compare it to Jody's. Why would... Chen stopped mid-sentence, understanding dawning. She drew Jennifer's blood and ran the comparison. The results confirmed the impossible. You're sisters, Chen announced. Half-sisters sharing a mother, Elizabeth Walsh. I stared at Jennifer Coleman, the FBI agent who'd guided me through this nightmare, who'd searched for her nephew for 17 years, who'd stood by me through every revelation. My sister. Elizabeth didn't just experiment on one pregnancy, Jennifer said slowly. She had multiple children, placed them strategically. I was born 3 years before you placed with the Coleman family, who were told I was from a closed adoption. But your brother was enhanced, yes, because the Colemans adopted him too 5 years later. We weren't biological siblings. We were both Elizabeth's experiments raised as family." She laughed bitterly. No wonder she chose him to breed with another enhanced subject. She was still controlling the genetic lines. Michael stood abruptly. "So my parents were both experiments, and I'm, what, some kind of super-enhanced hybrid?" "Generation 3 bred from 2 separate enhanced lines," Chen confirmed. "But here's the truly disturbing part. The genetic markers suggest Marcus isn't your son in the traditional sense, Jody. He's your clone, modified and gender-swapped, but essentially your genetic duplicate with enhancements turned up to maximum." The revelation hit like a physical blow. "Marcus isn't my son, he's me." "He's both," Chen said gently. "Genetically, he's you with modifications, but he's also his own person raised and loved as your child. Biology doesn't erase that." "But how I was pregnant, I gave birth to a child with 99.7% genetic match to you. The 0.3% difference accounts for gender and enhanced modifications. Someone, likely Elizabeth, harvested your eggs, created the clone, and implanted it. You carried and birthed your own modified clone." I thought I might be sick. Every certainty about my life had crumbled, but this felt like the final demolition. My son, my beautiful boy, was actually me. "Mom!" We all turned to see Madison in the doorway, tablet in hand. "I think you all need to see this. I've been digging deeper into the Swiss law firm. They sent similar letters to hundreds of enhanced individuals today, all revealing genetic connections that shouldn't exist." She pulled up a digital map showing connection lines between enhanced humans worldwide. It looked like a vast spider web. "They're all related," she explained. "Every single enhanced human is genetically connected to Elizabeth Walsh. Not just the ones she carried, but all of them. She used her own genetic material as the base for every enhancement." 3,000 children, I breathed. "All her children, in a sense. All siblings or half-siblings or clones with variations." Madison's voice was awed and horrified. She didn't create a breeding program. She created a family, the largest, most dysfunctional family in human history. The implications were staggering. Every enhanced human marriage might be between relatives. Every enhanced child might be inbreeding. The entire population was one massive genetic experiment in creating variations of Elizabeth Walsh. "We need to inform everyone," Coleman said, already reaching for her phone. "Genetic counseling, family planning advice, psychological support." "Wait," Michael interrupted. "There's something else. If I'm Generation 3 and Marcus is Generation 4, where's Generation 5? We all froze. In the chaos of revelations, we'd missed the obvious question. If Elizabeth had planned this far ahead, would she have stopped at Generation 4? Dr. Chen ran to her computer, pulling up global birth records for enhanced humans. The data painted a terrifying picture. There are already 12 Generation 5 subjects. The oldest is 6 months old, all born to Generation 3 parents who didn't know they were related. She looked up face grave. And the enhancements, they're exponential. These babies are showing abilities we can't even categorize. Elizabeth's ultimate goal, I realized, not just enhancement, but exponential evolution, each generation more powerful until they're not human anymore, Jennifer finished. We sat in stunned silence, processing the full scope of Elizabeth Walsh's plan. She hadn't just wanted to create enhanced humans. She'd wanted to create a new species, all derived from herself, all carrying her genetic legacy forward into a post-human future. "What do we do?" Madison asked quietly. "We tell the truth," I said firmly. "All of it. Every enhanced human deserves to know their real genetic heritage. They deserve to make informed choices about their relationships, their children, their futures." "The public reaction," Coleman warned, "will be what it is. We've come this far with truth. We can't stop now." I thought of Marcus playing at home, unaware that he wasn't my son in the traditional sense, but something far stranger. Myself reborn, and enhanced. Did it change how I felt about him? No. He was still the child I'd carried, birthed, raised, still the little boy who called me mama and trusted me to keep him safe. But it changed everything else. The entire enhanced human community would need to grapple with the reality that they were all family, all connected to a woman whose narcissism had reached genetic proportions. "There's one more thing," Chen said quietly. "The Swiss sample. The one that started all this, it has a message encoded in the genetic sequence itself. Just 2 words: she lives. Elizabeth. Even from maximum security prison serving multiple life sentences, she was still playing games, still revealing truths designed to cause maximum chaos. But this time we wouldn't let her control the narrative. The truth would out, yes, but we'd frame it ourselves, not as the horrible revelation of genetic manipulation, but as the uniting factor for all enhanced humans. We were family, dysfunctional, artificially created, scattered across the globe, but family nonetheless. And families, even ones as strange as ours, could choose to support each other through anything. "Call a press conference," I told Coleman. "It's time the world knew the whole truth, all of it." As we prepared to shatter the world's understanding once again, I thought of Elizabeth in her cell. She'd wanted to create a master race all bearing her genetic legacy. Instead, she'd created a family that would ultimately reject everything she stood for. We were her children, all 3,000 of us, but we'd choose our own path forward. And that path led away from her shadow into a light of our own making. 5 years had passed since the day the world learned the truth about enhanced humans. 5 years since we discovered we were all in various ways the genetic children of Elizabeth Walsh. 5 years of struggle, acceptance, and ultimately transformation. I stood before the Global Enhanced Human Council in Geneva, Switzerland, a body that hadn't existed 5 years ago, but now represented over 10,000 enhanced individuals worldwide. As the elected director, a title I'd accepted with deep irony, I was about to deliver my final address before stepping down. 5 years ago, we learned we were all family. I began looking out at the assembled crowd, enhanced humans from every continent, every walk of life. A family created through violation manipulation and one woman's megalomaniacal vision. We had every right to be angry, to be broken, to let that revelation destroy us. Instead, we chose to build something beautiful from the ashes of her empire. Behind me, screens showed images of the enhanced integration centers we'd established globally, support networks for newly discovered enhanced humans, genetic counseling for those navigating relationships within our extended family, education programs helping enhanced children understand and control their abilities. Today, enhancement is no longer a secret to be hidden or a weapon to be feared. It's simply another facet of human diversity. Enhanced individuals serve as doctors, teachers, firefighters, artists. We've shown the world that different doesn't mean dangerous. Madison, now my deputy director and the architect of our public relations transformation, smiled from the front row. Beside her sat Michael Coleman, who'd become a spokesperson for Generation 3 individuals struggling with identity issues. His relationship with his Aunt Jennifer had flourished once the truth was out, proving that family bonds could transcend genetic manipulation. But our work isn't done, I continued. Generation 5 is now entering school age with abilities that challenge our understanding of human potential. Generation 6 has been born, children whose enhancements are so profound that baseline humans struggle to understand them. We must ensure these children grow up in a world that sees them as miracles, not monsters. Dr. Sarah Martinez, who'd established the Enhanced Medical Institute, nodded approvingly. Her research had shown that each generation wasn't just more enhanced, they were fundamentally different, evolving in ways Elizabeth never predicted. Generation 6. Children could manipulate matter at the molecular level, perceive dimensions beyond the standard 4, and process information in ways that made quantum computers look primitive. Which brings me to my announcement, I said, feeling the weight of the moment. After 5 years as director, I'm stepping down. Not because the work is done, but because it's time for new leadership. For Generation 3 to guide us into the future they're uniquely equipped to navigate. Gasps rippled through the assembly. I'd kept this decision close, sharing it only with my inner circle. Madison Hartley will serve as interim director until elections can be held, but I want to nominate someone for permanent leadership, someone who understands both the burden and the beauty of enhancement, someone who's proven that our origins don't define our destiny. I looked directly at Michael Coleman. Michael, you were raised by Elizabeth to be a weapon. Instead, you chose to be a healer. You've counseled hundreds of enhanced individuals through identity crises. You've shown that Generation 3 can bridge the gap between early enhancement and the profound changes coming with newer generations. Will you accept the nomination? He stood slowly, clearly shocked. At 23, he'd be the youngest director in our brief history. But he'd also lived through more than most could imagine. Yes. If the council will have me, yes. Applause thundered through the hall. As it died down, I had one more announcement. As for me, I'll be returning to what I've always been at heart, a mother. Marcus is 7 now, navigating school as one of the few Generation 4 children in a baseline classroom. He needs his mom more than the world needs another politician. More importantly, Marcus had begun manifesting abilities that made even other enhanced children nervous. Reality manipulation, they called it. The ability to alter fundamental forces with thought alone. He needed guidance support and most of all the constant reminder that he was human, first enhanced second. After the assembly, I found myself in the memorial garden we'd built for enhancement victims. 43 names of women David Hartley had murdered. Hundreds more who died in Elizabeth's experiments. Children who'd been lost in the trafficking network. Emma Fitzgerald found me there, now 21 and leading the Enhanced Healing Corps. She'd become everything Elizabeth had hoped for and nothing like what she'd intended. Emma used her abilities freely healing anyone who needed it, enhanced or baseline. "Thank you," she said simply, "for showing us we could choose our own path." "You always could. I just reminded you of it." "What will you do now, really?" I smiled. "Raise my son. Write a book maybe about our history, the real story, not the sanitized version. And..." I hesitated, then continued. "I've been accepted into a baseline university, psychology degree. I want to understand people, all people, better. An enhanced human studying baseline psychology that's either brilliant or ironic. Maybe both. We've spent so long focused on what makes us different. Maybe it's time to study what makes us the same." As the sun set over Geneva, I thought about Elizabeth in her maximum security cell. She was 93 by official records, but looked 50 thanks to her enhancements. She'd live for decades more, watching the world she tried to control evolve beyond her wildest dreams. Reports said she spent her days writing, manifestos about genetic superiority that no one would publish, plans for enhancement programs that no one would implement, the ravings of a brilliant mind that had forgotten the most important element of evolution. It happened through cooperation, not control. Marcus called then, his face appearing on my phone screen. "Mama, guess what I made? The soccer team coach says I run faster than anyone." "That's wonderful, baby. Remember what we talked about. Use my gifts responsibly. Don't show off. Help my teammates." He grinned. "Can we get ice cream to celebrate?" "Of course. I'll be home tomorrow." "Love you, Mama. Oh, and I drew you a picture at school. It's you and me and all the enhanced people holding hands around the world. Mrs. Johnson says it's very good for a second grader." "I can't wait to see it. Love you too." After he hung up, I stood in the garden a moment longer. 5 years ago, I'd been a single mom fighting to keep her child. Now I was part of a global family working to secure the future for all our children. The path hadn't been easy. There'd been setbacks. Countries that tried to ban enhanced humans, extremist groups that saw us as threats, enhanced individuals who used their abilities for crime. But for every step back, we'd taken 2 forward. Public opinion had shifted from fear to curiosity to acceptance. Laws protected us. Communities embraced us. Most importantly, we'd proven that enhancement was just another word for human potential. Whether that potential was used for good or ill depended on choice, not genetics. As I headed to my hotel, my phone buzzed with messages. Sarah sharing a breakthrough in understanding Generation 6 abilities. Madison outlining plans for the transition. Jennifer sending pictures from Michael's graduation last month. James Chen announcing his tech company had gone public, making him the youngest enhanced billionaire. Family. Chosen and genetic enhanced and baseline all working together toward a future none of us could fully envision, but all of us were determined to build. Elizabeth had wanted to create gods. Instead, she'd created humans with the ability to choose godhood or humanity, and overwhelmingly, we'd chosen humanity. Tomorrow I'd fly home to Marcus. Next week I'd start classes. Next month I'd begin writing our true story. And somewhere in that future, Generation 7 would be born with abilities that would make even our enhancements look quaint. But tonight I stood in a garden in Geneva surrounded by the names of the lost, but looking toward the found. 3,000 siblings scattered across the globe, each choosing their own path, but connected by bonds stronger than blood. The shared decision to be more than our origins. We were enhanced humans. We were Elizabeth's children. We were tomorrow's promise. But most of all, we were family, and that made all the difference. As I walked back through the city streets, I noticed something that would have been impossible 5 years ago. Enhanced and baseline humans sitting together at cafes, their children playing without fear or segregation. A Generation 5 child levitating toys while her baseline friend laughed and clapped. A couple, one enhanced, one not, walking hand in hand, wedding rings glinting. Integration, acceptance, evolution not through force but through choice. This was the future we'd built from the ashes of Elizabeth's empire. Not perfect, nothing ever was, but human in all its messy, beautiful, complicated glory. And as Marcus would say, that was very good indeed. Dear readers, what would you choose if you discovered you were enhanced? How would you handle learning your entire life was built on lies, but those lies gave you extraordinary gifts? Would you seek revenge or redemption, connection or isolation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe for more tales of human resilience and the choices that define us. And please share this with others who might need to hear that being different doesn't mean being less than. It just means being human in a unique way. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May you always remember that your choices, not your origins, define who you become. Until next time, remember, we're all family in the end.